The very first thing a man did after gaining X-ray vision was admire the system goddess's playful innerwear. Enraged, the system goddess sent him straight into a world overrun by zombies. What he didn't realize was that before activating the system, Hao Lanren was already among Earth's top-tier fighters. Beating formidable opponents was effortless for him. Because of that, he earned the worship of the masses. They rallied around him and made him the leader of the Lanren gang. From then on, he led his men in cracking down on criminal forces. Before long, he went from a nobody to a powerful man with influence and authority. During that time, there were idiots who tried to assassinate him, but he dealt with them easily every time. What he never expected was that he would ultimately fall at the hands of his own people. As he lay dying, a crisp system notification suddenly rang out. Enter the apocalypse and complete the mission. One look was enough for Hao Lanren to recall all those transmigration and rebirth tropes for novels. Naturally, he wasn't about to miss a chance to be reborn and take revenge. As the mysterious system's prompt began, a woman calling herself the system goddess suddenly appeared. Welcome to the system space. You're now my host. Next, you'll be sent to the apocalyptic world. Let me briefly introduce this apocalypse to you. But Hao Lanren, like a total creep, had his eyes glued to the goddess's figure. Fortunately, the setting of this apocalypse wasn't complicated. It was simply a world where people drank trashy beverages and turned into zombies, then began attacking humans, plunging the entire world into doomsday. Hao Lanren's mission was to survive in the apocalypse on his own and save the survivors there. With that said, the goddess prepared to teleport him away. Hey, sending a completely helpless guy straight into a world full of zombies. Doesn't your conscience hurt at all? The goddess was speechless. Helpless? You didn't look helpless when you barehanded a plane. As the system's 99th host, of course we'll provide assistance. As she spoke, she displayed a large list of skills. You may choose one skill here. Once selected, it cannot be changed. But Hao Lanren soon realized that he had already mastered almost all of those so-called martial arts techniques. The only exception was this eye technique, which he had never heard of before. So he casually chose the skill, eye technique. Instantly, his vision became much clearer. He could even see things he had never seen before. The goddess immediately sensed something was wrong and violently interrupted his casting. Pervert, don't use eye techniques on me. For the sake of accomplishing something big, he could only endure it for now. To help Hao Lanren grow faster, the goddess specifically explained that this eye technique contained a functional system called Kuei Eye. Simply put, gold, silver, and valuables that had lost all value in the apocalypse could be used by Hao Lanren to upgrade skills in the system, and even to open a path back to the original world. That immediately piqued Hao Lanren's interest. You idiots who try to kill me. Fate, let me be reborn, and that's the announcement of your doom. After giving Hao Lanren some basic supplies one last time, the goddess teleported him into the apocalyptic world. As he was checking his surroundings, Hao Lanren suddenly heard the sound of someone bathing behind him. A perk already? Thinking about how dangerous the apocalypse was, Hao Lanren immediately activated his eye technique to investigate. The next second, he practically sprayed out 2.5 gene of period blood. Just as Hao Lanren was fantasizing about a beautiful encounter with the apocalypse's female lead, a sharp knife suddenly shot out from behind the shower curtain. After ricocheting multiple times around the room, it steadily returned to the woman's hand. Not bad. You got some skills. As she spoke, the woman angrily lunged to Hao Lanren. But in Hao Lanren's eyes, her techniques were still far too crude. After just a few exchanges, he subdued her with ease. His gaze unconsciously drifted toward the lush spring scenery beneath him. Seeing this, the woman immediately flushed with shame and rage. You pervert. I'll gouge your eyes out. Hao Lanren wasn't truly some depraved, lust-driven man. It's just that, miss, the style of your bathrobe almost woke up my little brother. Hearing that, the woman grew even angrier and leapt up with a flying kick. But this reckless attack made Hao Lanren momentarily unsure whether she was attacking or throwing herself at him. Unbeknownst to him, this very move had slain countless zombies in an instant. The woman shouted angrily, "I can't beat you, and meeting you is just my bad luck. But rather than be humiliated by you, I'd rather die with you. I'll use my blood to lure the zombies. You might defeat me alone, but can you beat that many zombies?" Hearing this, Hao Lanren thought it was indeed a good idea. "But your hands and feet are restrained by me. How are you going to use blood to lure them?" The next second, the woman suddenly lunged forward and bit at him. But she didn't succeed. It wasn't that Hao Lanren dodged. She was simply too starved and weak, collapsing limply instead. Hao Lanren was utterly speechless. He might be a man who liked beautiful women, but he never forced himself on anyone. Women had always submitted of their own will. But after witnessing human nature in the apocalypse, the woman no longer believed such nonsense. If you want to conquer a woman, you first have to conquer her stomach. So Hao Lanren summoned a can with a thought. "Hungry? Go ahead, eat." At that moment, Hao Lanren seemed like a god in the woman's eyes. But in the apocalypse, canned food was extremely rare, and she strongly suspected Hao Lanren had ulterior motives. Seeing this, Hao Lanren didn't bother explaining and simply started eating it himself right in front of her. Overwhelmed by hunger, the woman couldn't hold back anymore. "There's really nothing wrong. He doesn't seem like he wants to hurt me." That single can of food was quickly finished by her. But clearly, it wasn't enough to fill her up. Do you have any more cans?" Hao Lanren smiled. "Your name is Yi Xiaoli, right? I've got plenty of food, but you'll need to answer a few questions first." Just like that, Hao Lanren finally gained a rough understanding of his current situation. He learned that he was now in Chuanzhou, a city in southern Huaxia. It was the third year since the zombie outbreak. Most people had moved to the central safe zone, but many survivors were still forced to remain here. So Hao Lanren immediately set off to carry out the task assigned by the goddess. "Deal's done. We're even now. And by the way, you've got a pretty good figure." With that, he left behind a blushing Yi Xiaoli. But she quickly packed up her gear and followed after him. A man suddenly appearing in a bathroom with a large amount of food was suspicious no matter how you looked at it. Hao Lanren naturally noticed that she was following him. Whatever. She didn't seem like a bad person. If she wanted to follow, so be it. At the same time, he was looking forward to the surprise the goddess mentioned after killing zombies. What was strange, though, was that he hadn't seen a single zombie along the way. Am I not fragrant enough, or something? The moment he said that, a zombie burst through a window, Hao Lanren reacted instantly and cleanly dodged the ambush. He retreated at the same time, pulling distance between himself and the zombie. Was it drawn here by the sound of the soda can? Looks like these things are really sensitive to noise. As his words fell, the zombie slashed at Hao Lanren with a claw. Pretty fast. If those claws hit me, I'd probably turn into a zombie myself. Hao Lanren immediately summoned a dagger. With a single slash, he chopped off both of the zombie's hands. But when he turned back smugly, he found that the zombie's hands had grown back again. No matter how many times Hao Lanren cut them off, the zombie's hands regenerated just as many times. Even Hao Lanren couldn't help finding this troublesome. Since it could regenerate, hacking away like this clearly wouldn't solve anything. So he decisively stored the dagger back into his space. He then gathered all the strength in his body. With a move called Earth-Shaking 18 Forms, he struck straight at the zombie's face. The zombie's head was blown apart on the spot. Based on past gaming experience, zombies could only be truly killed by destroying the head. Sure enough, the zombie completely exploded the next second. At the same time, a large amount of gold dropped. Is this the surprise the system goddess mentioned? In the next moment, Hao Lanren was pulled straight into the system space. Meanwhile, the coins dropped by the zombie were automatically deposited into the system bank. Killing a single zombie granted 1 million coins, enough to officially start spending big. Since Hao Lanren had obtained his first pot of gold, the system's skill upgrade function was also activated. Just as Hao Lanren was getting ready to upgrade like crazy, He discovered that a single upgrade cost 10 million coins. Fortunately, a new system feature was unlocked as well. The system gate allowed the host to return to the original world, but only for 24 hours each time. Hearing this, Hao Lanren was instantly fired up. The very next second, the system goddess poured cold water all over that excitement. Activating the system gate required a staggering 100 million coins. Seeing Hao Lanren so dejected, the system goddess offered a few hints. The virtual space can store and retrieve items, but living beings are excluded. The gold dropped by zombies can only be seen by the host. No manual pickup is required. All gold is automatically credited to the system and converted into the host's wealth. And while the host is inside the virtual space, time in the outside world is completely frozen, so there's no need to worry about being discovered or harmed. After that, the system goddess's figure gradually faded away. Host, make good use of these tips. If you have questions, feel free to call me anytime. Hao Lanren couldn't help rubbing his forehead and sighing. Sounds easy enough, but thinking about the remaining 99 million coins needed to open the system gate just gives me a headache. Even so, monsters still had to be killed. Yi Xiaoli, walking behind him, was completely stunned. He had taken down a zombie with his bare fists, killing it in a single blow. He clearly wasn't familiar with the area, probably an outsider. But how could someone this strong end up in such a small place, carrying so much precious food? The more mysterious he was, the more she wanted to figure out exactly what kind of person he really was. After searching for quite a while, Hao Lanren had only found 4 zombies. Where did all the zombies go? At that moment, a note stuck on a trash can caught Hao Lanren's attention. Written on it was a clear plea for help. An amusement park? Huh? Looks like more zombies are coming to deliver gold to me. After searching around the amusement park for a bit, he soon found the owner of the note. Choo Choo. Big brother, please save me. She had locked herself inside a circus tent to hide from zombies. But her sudden cry for help immediately attracted the nearby zombies. Just as she was frozen in terror, Hao Lanren hurled a stone with all his strength. It pierced straight through the clown zombie's body. Even after turning into a zombie, all you know is bullying women. You must not have been any good when you were alive. Hao Lanren's voice instantly drew the attention of the zombie horde. They charged straight toward him. But to Hao Lanren, who already knew the zombies' weaknesses, this number was nothing to fear. He repeated the same tactic and swiftly killed the Mickey zombie. Then he leaped into the air, slashing and blowing apart the clown zombie's head. The remaining zombies were all taken down by Hao Lanren using various methods. The clattering sound of coins dropping was incredibly pleasant to the ears. Choo Choo was utterly stunned. This man had wiped out all the zombies by himself, so she immediately launched a seduction attempt on Hao Lanren. Big brother, you're so strong. Choo Choo really likes you. But even after a long while, Hao Lanren showed no reaction at all. Just as Choo Choo was feeling confused, she discovered Hao Lanren sticking his hand into a zombie's pants. What was he doing? Was this some kind of weird fetish? All the other zombies dropped gold. Why didn't you? Did you hide it somewhere? I can't even feel it. Damn it, drop already. That's my hard-earned money. Choo Choo was completely freaked out by the scene. Wait, this is way too messed up. After fumbling around for quite a while, the zombie finally dropped its coins. Finally out. That feels amazing. By now, Choo Choo had already labeled Hao Lanren a total pervert. Is it still possible to run? Unfortunately, her whisper was heard loud and clear by Hao Lanren. What did you just say? That snapped Choo Choo back to her senses. She had finally met a man. She couldn't back down now. Straight or not, she tried seducing him first. I said thank you, big brother, for saving me. If it weren't for you, I'd probably be dead by now. Hao Lanren responded with a simple grunt and ignored her after that. Left with no choice, Choo Choo explained that she had attracted nearby zombies while searching for food, was injured while fleeing, and ended up trapped there. Big brother, you're so strong. Could you escort Choo Choo back? I'll definitely reward you generously. Hao Lanren perked up immediately. A generous reward? You mean you've got gold? Choo Choo flashed a flattering smile. Big brother, you're joking. Who wants that stuff in the apocalypse? You can't eat it or use it. But Choo Choo is different. I guarantee you'll get addicted after just one try. Hearing this, Hao Lanren felt disappointed instead. Maybe next time. I've got things to do. Choo Choo froze on the spot. Even my looks can't bend him straight. Then I'll have to use my own way to keep you here. With that, Choo Choo clapped her hands. Her companions hiding in the shadows immediately appeared and surrounded Hao Lanren. Wow, Choo Choo's such a handsome guy. Where did you find him? He's top tier. The other beautiful accomplices chimed in as well. It instantly stirred Hao Lanren's heart. You're all pretty hot too. Choo Choo was dumbfounded. Wasn't this guy acting all unyielding just a moment ago? Sure enough, that saying wasn't wrong at all. At that moment, Choo Choo and the others launched their offensive against Hao Lanren. The sisters all really like you. As long as you come with us, we'll all be yours. That's right, handsome. We got good food and drinks waiting for you. Come back with Choo Choo. Hao Lanren agreed without hesitation. No problem. I'll go along with whatever you say. Hearing this, all four of them revealed satisfied smiles. This man was extremely dangerous. They had to deal with him while his guard was down. But when they came to their senses, they realized all the hidden weapons on them were gone. At the same time, Hao Lanren flashed backward, widening the distance. No need to look. I've got everything right here. Hong Ying and the others were instantly shocked. Hao Lanren, however, remained completely calm, because before arriving at the amusement park, he had already detected Hong Ying and her group using his eye technique. They were fully equipped, nothing like helpless women at all. That made Hao Lanren immediately realize this was a trap set specifically for those who took the bait. So he used a classic martial trick, asterisk sleight of hand star. While talking, he smoothly lifted all of Hong Ying's group's weapons. Even after being exposed, Hong Ying and the others clearly had no intention of backing down. So what if he saw through us? Sisters, get him! But they had still underestimated Hao Lanren's strength. The blonde attacker, charging head-on, was easily taken down. Even the pink-haired one who tried a sneak attack was caught at a critical moment and restrained by Hao Lanren's whip. Seeing this, Choo Choo and another companion refused to stay idle. They both unleashed their ultimate moves at Hao Lanren. Not only did Hao Lanren dodge every attack, he also took the chance to cuff them both with handcuffs. Without giving them any chance to speak, Hao Lanren knocked all of them out with a swift chop. Yi Xiaoli, who had been watching from the side, couldn't help feeling puzzled. She hadn't expected him to remain completely unmoved by beauty. Maybe his earlier appearance in my bathroom really was just a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Hong Ying and the others were brought by Hao Lanren to a warehouse. What a waste of such good figures. Still, it's strange. Ever since the apocalypse, everyone I meet is a woman. After regaining consciousness, Hong Ying immediately threatened him, declaring she was from the Black Lotus gang. You dare treat us like this? Just wait for your revenge. Hao Lanren wasn't afraid at all. If you don't answer a few questions properly, I'll throw all of you out to feed the zombies. First question, what happened to the men in this world? I haven't seen a single one, and you've turned them into prey. Choo Choo replied, because men are rare creatures now. Hao Lanren was completely stunned by that answer. It turned out that after the virus outbreak, under the same conditions, men were usually the first to show symptoms. Before long, men were almost wiped out due to massive infections. But the few men who survived didn't become prized treasures. Instead, they were forced into extreme labor by female factions, becoming fish on the chopping block. Hao Lanren immediately realized how serious the situation was. No matter how strong he was, surviving alone in this apocalypse would be nearly impossible. Since women far outnumbered men, why not form a legion of beautiful women instead? Just then, a massive disturbance interrupted his thoughts. Activating his eye technique, he took a look. What he saw was a large horde of zombies breaking through the barricades and charging in. Hao Lanren finally smiled again. Looks like more zombies are here to deliver me some money. As he spoke, he pulled out his dagger. With a flash, he instantly killed the zombie at the front. However, zombies were pouring in from all directions. Hao Lanren had no way to spare attention for Hong Ying and the others who were still trapped. What he didn't expect was that Chu Chu, in order to escape alive, would abandon her companions without hesitation. Now that he already had the information he needed, those people no longer mattered to him. Just you wait. Only then did Hal Lonren respond. I'll be waiting anytime. With that, he plunged straight into the zombie horde, cutting them down without mercy. The joy of coins constantly dropping was practically overflowing the screen. Yi Xiaoli, who didn't know what was really going on, could only stare in a daze. She even started wondering whether Hal Lonren disliked beautiful women and had a strange fondness for zombies instead. Just then, Hal Lonren suddenly took out a can of meatballs. It instantly made Yi Xiaoli drool. Seen enough? If I die, all these tasty cans are gone. Hearing that, Yi Xiaoli immediately climbed down from the Ferris wheel. She jumped onto a motorcycle and sped straight toward Hal Lonren. Then she quickly pulled him onto the bike. Hold on to those cans. If even one goes missing, I won't let you off. Hal Lonren nodded. Got it. Drive. He really did feel a bit sorry about leaving all that gold behind. But with zombies gathering in greater numbers, if they didn't leave now, they wouldn't be able to leave at all. Bye-bye, zombies. Don't get in the way of me enjoying a romantic moment with a beauty. That teasing instantly made Yi Xiaoli blush. Who's having a romantic moment with you? Hold tight. I'm speeding up. But when he grabbed on, his hand landed right on something soft. In an instant, several bumps popped up on Hal Lonren's head. If it weren't for the food, I wouldn't have come to save you, let alone waste such precious gasoline. Before long, the two arrived at Yi Xiaoli's base. Hal Lonren couldn't help but marvel at how many bases she had. After the apocalypse broke out, the villas in the rich district became abandoned ruins, and she had converted them into bases. But with resources so scarce in the apocalypse, where did you even find a motorcycle that still has gas? Only then did he learn it was a birthday gift her father had given Yi Xiaoli. She had planned to ride it towards central China to look for her parents, but the north gate of Chuanzhou was packed with zombies. She tried several times and couldn't break through, and had no idea whether her parents were still alive. Hearing this, Hal Lonren fell silent for a long while. In the end, all he could do was take out an apple as a small comfort. She really was a total foodie. Still, this was a good chance to ask about her background. So Hal Lonren asked Yi Xiaoli, "Why are you following me? Don't tell me you've fallen for me." Yi Xiaoli immediately blushed. Who would fall for you? I just feel bad about wasting all that food. Besides, if you die, I won't be able to get any food from you anymore. Then she raised her own question. But seriously, who are you? Where are you getting so much food from? Hal Lonren wasn't ready to answer yet. After all, he didn't truly know Yi Xiaoli either. In the end, Yi Xiaoli introduced herself first. Before the apocalypse, she had been a member of the national fencing team, skilled with cold weapons. After 2 years of survival training, her combat ability was pretty solid. Just not as good as a freak like you, she added. That matched Hal Lonren's expectations. Anyone who could hold their ground in the apocalypse couldn't be weak. I'm planning to build my own group here anyway. Men may be rare, but wouldn't it be more interesting to form a team of women who are both easy on the eyes and good fighters? As he spoke, Hal Lonren couldn't help letting his imagination run wild. Yi Xiaoli noticed it immediately. What creepy thoughts are you having now? You still haven't told me who you really are. Hal Lonren didn't mention the system at all and made up an identity as a martial arts instructor instead. As for my food, it's all in my pants. If you don't believe me, feel free to check. As expected, he got beaten up again. Back to business. Yi Xiaoli, are you interested in making a deal? Yi Xiaoli immediately became cautious. What kind of deal? Hal Lonren said plainly that he planned to hunt zombies in this area. Since Yi Xiaoli knew the terrain extremely well, he wanted her to act as his guide. Yi Xiaoli was hesitant at first, but Hal Lonren's offer was tempting. Canned food and apples every meal. And after traveling together for a while, she realized Hal Lonren wasn't a bad person. So the two happily reached an agreement. By the way, when those women from the Black Lotus gang tried to seduce you earlier, I thought you'd fall for it. Didn't expect you to stay so composed like a real gentleman. Hal Lonren grew smug. Of course. Let me tell you, there's nothing in this world that can shake my resolve. Before he could finish speaking, reality slapped him in the face. "Sis, you're back." Seeing the unfamiliar man with a face full of nosebleed, Yi Xiaomei instinctively covered her body with her clothes. Already weakened from blood loss, Hao Lanren somehow got beaten up again. "I'm taking my sister to change. If you dare peek, I'll beat you up." Hao Lanren was speechless. "Didn't you already beat me?" And that was pretty hard. Having a stunning beauty suddenly appear in the room, plus the whole bandage look. Who could possibly handle that? After the two of them went inside, Hao Lanren carefully examined the room. He unexpectedly spotted a gold bracelet displayed in a cabinet. The original owner must have left in a hurry and forgotten to take it. The moment Hao Lanren touched the bracelet, it automatically converted into assets in his system. It turned out that as long as it was gold, it could all be converted into his assets. If he could find more gold, wouldn't it be long before he could return to his original world? With that thought, Hao Lanren started rummaging through the villa, turning everything upside down. This quickly caught the attention of Yi Xiaoli, who had just finished changing clothes. "What are you doing?" Hao Lanren hurriedly made up an excuse. After all, he couldn't exactly say he needed gold to boost his system output. Fortunately, Yi Xiaoli didn't press the issue. After that, Yi Xiaomei introduced herself. She explained that she didn't know there was a guest at home, which was why she had come out dressed like that. Hao Lanren didn't mind. It was all just a misunderstanding. Yi Xiaoli, however, was displeased. "Why are you apologizing to him? He's the one who took advantage of you." Yi Xiaomei immediately interrupted her sister. "Didn't you tell me he shared food with you? He helped you. He's our benefactor." Hearing that, Yi Xiaoli decided not to pursue the matter, at least for the sake of the food. Though the twins looked identical, their personalities were worlds apart, like an angel and a devil. They then learned that Yi Xiaomei was a sharpshooter, but had been ambushed while gathering supplies and was badly injured. Yi Xiaoli wanted to avenge her sister, but the fighting drew in more zombies, forcing her to retreat to survive. Unfortunately, her sister's wound became infected. Xiaoli searched many places but couldn't find any anti-inflammatory medicine. Her sister was growing weaker by the day and likely wouldn't last much longer. At this point, Xiaoli was already in tears, begging Hao Lanren to find some medicine to treat her sister. Hao Lanren began to scheme inwardly. These two sisters were not only beautiful, but highly skilled. If he could bring them into his group, wouldn't he gain a huge advantage in the apocalypse? As for the medicine, the only option was to return to his original world. But his coins were still far from sufficient, meaning he would need their help as well. So Hao Lanren said, "I can save her, but you'll have to help me find gold. If you agree, I'll not only get you the medicine, but also provide you with the best food in the apocalypse." The moment he finished speaking, the two sisters agreed without hesitation. At that moment, Xiaomei mentioned a casino in the western part of the city, where the chips were made of solid gold. That'd be a massive stockpile of gold there. However, the place had become a gigantic zombie nest, and with just a few of them, there was no way they could take it head-on. Hearing this, Hao Lanren grew visibly excited. Fighting zombies while collecting gold sounded perfect. If things went smoothly, he'd soon earn enough to return to his original world. "Don't worry, I have my own plan." He then took out canned food and fruit. "Get a good rest tonight. We move out early tomorrow." Unexpectedly, a faint rustling of footsteps came from nearby. Hao Lanren immediately activated his X-ray vision to check the situation. What he saw were members of the Black Lotus gang. Among them was Chu Chu, the woman who had escaped last time. If he wasn't mistaken, she was here for revenge. In his current state, a direct clash wouldn't be wise. Hao Lanren quickly summoned the goddess system, hoping for some practical assistance. Sure enough, with the goddess's help, his eye technique was upgraded to Martial Soul Eye. A massive surge of power flooded his body, making him feel like a super scion in an instant. The system also unlocked the Eye Roulette. For 2 million coins, there was a chance to draw high-tier weapons or skills. The moment he heard that, Hao Lanren got fired up and immediately spent 2 million coins to activate it. As the roulette slowly came to a stop, he found a roll of toilet paper in his hand. What the hell? 2 million for toilet paper? This is a total scam. One more spin. This time, what appeared was a bikini. But Hao Lanren quickly caught on. A grin spread across his face. Looks like dealing with the Black Lotus gang would require a beauty trap. He selected a female zombie from the horde and used his martial soul eye to establish control, making her strike seductive poses among the zombies. In the next second, all the surrounding zombies were utterly captivated. Meanwhile, the Black Lotus gang was still eagerly preparing to wipe Hao Lanren out, completely unaware that a zombie army was already waiting for them. They cautiously pushed open the main door, only to find the place completely empty. Suddenly, a strange click-click sound echoed nearby, and the two immediately slid forward and rushed inside. What they saw next made their eyes widen. A female zombie in a bikini was casually dancing. With a heavy thud, she jumped down, and a massive group of zombies appeared behind her. Cold sweat poured down their backs. Were these zombies actually watching her dance? All the zombies suddenly stopped and stared straight at them. Only then did Ruhwa realize what was happening. This is a trap. Run! She raised her machine gun and fired wildly into the horde, but most attacks were blocked. Even the vital headshots were shielded by the female zombie's arms. At that moment, Chu Chu punched Ruhwa in the face. Give me the gun. I've worked for the Black Lotus gang for so long and got nothing. There's no way I'm dying here today. Before Ruhwa could react, Chu Chu snatched the weapon from her hands. At the same time, the female zombie charged toward them, carrying a container of gasoline. Completely panicked, Chu Chu lost control and unloaded a frantic burst of gunfire. Ruhwa tried to stop her, but it was already too late. The bullets ignited the gasoline, triggering a violent explosion that engulfed the entire building in flames. Meanwhile, Hao Lanren had already withdrawn from the area. A system notification popped up. Congratulations, host. You have obtained 1 million coins. Hao Lanren grinned. So, controlling zombies to kill other zombies also drops coins. This feels amazing. His expression immediately annoyed Xiaoli. You pervert. Don't think I don't know what's going through your head. Hao Lanren looked confused, but when he turned around, he saw Xiao Mei blushing deeply. As they led the sisters toward the casino to search for gold, the ground suddenly began to shake violently. Turning back, they saw an unprecedented giant zombie. With just a low roar, it shattered glass for miles around. Xiaoli said grimly that this zombie was called Evil Ghoul, with attack power 100 times greater than ordinary zombies. Getting into the casino won't be easy. Hao Lanren remained unconcerned. He picked up a stone and flicked it hard against a distant road sign, and the sharp sound immediately drew the Evil Ghoul's attention. Taking advantage of the moment, Hao Lanren controlled the zombie to stand atop the Evil Ghoul's head and stab toward the back of its skull. But the Evil Ghoul caught it effortlessly. With a slight squeeze, the zombie's bones shattered completely. It then tossed the zombie into its mouth and chewed loudly. Hao Lanren's heart sank. This Evil Ghoul wasn't just destructive, it was intelligent. His eye technique clearly wasn't high-level enough to control it. At that moment, the goddess system suddenly appeared and informed Hao Lanren that Evil Ghoul was a high-tier zombie, evolved by devouring 10,000 zombies. Although it couldn't be controlled yet, killing Evil Ghoul would yield an enormous amount of coins. You have 3 days. The reward is 100 million coins and a special bonus. Hao Lanren instantly got excited. Doesn't that mean I can go straight back to my original world? While he was lost in his fantasy, one of the girls poked him. We should take a detour and look for gold first. No, we're still getting the gold, but I'm definitely killing Evil Ghoul too. Don't worry, I have a plan. With that, Hao Lanren hoisted one of the girls onto his shoulder and slowly headed toward the casino. The front entrance was obviously out of the question, so they sneaked in from the back and reached a relatively safe room. When they opened the door, everything inside looked normal. But the moment Hao Lanren stepped in, an unknown slippery liquid sent him out of control, and he slammed into the bed frame with a loud bang. Just as he wondered why the floor was so slick, a strange sensation made him freeze in shock. Hearing the noise, Xiaoli rushed in. The sight before them left both of them stunned. The room was filled with all kinds of bizarre items. While Hao Lanren lay by the bed with a blissful look, occasionally making extremely lewd expressions. Furious, Xiaoli immediately gave him a solid bump on the head. Only then did they realize it was an extremely luxurious room, stacked with rare supplies. A nouveau-riche-looking old man spoke up. If Hao Lanren was willing to stay, he could marry off all 3 of his daughters to him, and rare food in the apocalypse would be guaranteed. Hao Lanren froze as the 3 daughters gathered around him, treating him like an emperor. But he still flatly refused. After all, apocalypse food had 0 nutrition. Supporting 3 wives would destroy his body. The old man looked utterly shocked. "Young man, are you joking? Or do you still have family outside? If so, bring them all over. We'll be one big family anyway." Seeing the sinister look on the old man's face, Hao Lanren immediately understood. This old pervert wasn't targeting him at all. He was after Xiaoli and Xiaomei. Otherwise, he wouldn't have rescued a stranger in a bedroom and claimed the place was so safe even Evil Ghoul couldn't find it. Hao Lanren instantly activated his vision ability and saw strange devices everywhere. These women were clearly being controlled through threats. At that moment, Evil Ghoul appeared. Strangely enough, it showed no sign of attacking and instead sat upright outside the building. While Hao Lanren was puzzled, the old man pressed him again, claiming this was every man's dream. Hao Lanren became certain the old man was dangerous, and he wasn't strong enough to face Evil Ghoul yet, so he decided to leave for now. Standing up, he politely said, "Your offer is tempting, but I'd rather stay a single shut-in in the apocalypse," and turned to leave. As expected, the next second the old man slapped the woman across the face, cursing her as useless for failing to keep even one man. He then calmly adjusted his bow tie. The woman seemed to understand instantly and dropped to her knees, begging desperately for mercy. The old man didn't even spare her a glance and coldly ordered Evil Ghoul, "Eat her." In the next instant, Evil Ghoul casually lifted the woman and tossed her straight into its mouth. "All that food I wasted luring her in, just to have her bring those beauties to me. Since that brat doesn't know his place, I won't hold back anymore." With that, the old man stood atop Evil Ghoul's shoulder and slowly moved in the direction Hao Lanren and Xiaoli had fled. After returning to their hideout, Hao Lanren told Xiaoli everything that had happened and brought back disinfectant. Treating Xiaomei's wounds and leaving immediately became the top priority. He also handed Xiaomei the sniper rifle he had drawn from the system. Xiaomei asked curiously where he had gotten it. Hao Lanren teased that he'd pulled out of his pants. The answer earned him another solid beating. Just as Xiaoli was applying medicine to her sister, violent tremors shook the area outside. It was the old man, bringing Evil Ghoul with him. Thankfully, they hadn't pinpointed the exact location yet, but Evil Ghoul suddenly sat down as if gathering power. In the next second, it unleashed a furious roar, devastating trees, cars, and buildings within a 10-mile radius. Hao Lanren's hiding place was no exception, and the windows shattered instantly. Using his vision ability, he saw a strange aura drilling straight into Evil Ghoul's ear. "Damn it, we've been locked onto," Hao Lanren shouted. The next moment, Blood Evil Ghoul pointed directly at their position. The old man chased them relentlessly with Evil Ghoul. Xiaoli narrowly escaped its grasp and sprinted into a nearby underground casino. Lust flashing in his eyes, the old man ordered Evil Ghoul to stop and entered the casino alone, unaware he was stepping straight into Hao Lanren's trap. Spotting Xiaoli hiding in a corner with part of her clothes exposed, the old man immediately grabbed her shoulder. The next instant, a handkerchief was placed over his face. A powerful blow followed, slamming him hard into a nearby wall. The old man was stunned. Why was this girl so strong? And why did her voice sound different? Taking a closer look, he realized the girl had already turned into a sharp-looking young man. Enraged, the old man roared, "Evil Ghoul, kill him!" As expected, the floor collapsed in the next second, and Evil Ghoul's fist came crashing down. Hao Lanren, however, remained perfectly calm, because he was about to do something that would disgrace his ancestors. He tore off his outer clothes, revealing a pink pajama set, then struck an outrageously seductive pose. The old man froze in shock. "Don't tell me you're into this." Even Evil Ghoul's eyes turned dreamy. Hao Lanren then flicked a durian shell out of his pocket. Using the ultimate secret technique of old men everywhere, he blew Evil Ghoul a passionate flying kiss. "Little Ghoul, make him kneel." The old man burst into laughter. "You think Evil Ghoul is that easy to control? You must be dreaming." Unbeknownst to him, Evil Ghoul had already lifted the old man up and slammed him down onto the durian shell with a loud thud. The old man screamed in agony. Seeing the plan succeed, Hao Lanren flashed Evil Ghoul a sweetheart gesture, making it grin foolishly. Evil Ghoul restrained the old man's arms tightly, while Hao Lanren stepped on him. "Now, let you experience the whip of love." Hao Lanren pummeled the old man's backside mercilessly, leaving him bloody and begging on his knees. At that moment, the old man took advantage of the distraction, pulled out a small bottle of green liquid, and gulped it down. Sensing danger, Hao Lanren clenched his fist and slammed a powerful punch into the old man's chest, one that should have been fatal. To his shock, the old man slowly stood back up, the hole in his body visibly regenerating before his eyes. Hao Lanren's expression darkened. "Regeneration?" The old man smirked. "Kid, you're impressive. You actually forced me to use this. Since it's come to this, you're dying here today." With that, the old man lunged straight at Hao Lanren. Hao Lanren stayed calm, dodged the attack, and drove his fist straight into the bloated pig-like face. The old man's head exploded instantly, splattering everywhere. Yet he was immortal. In the next moment, he wrapped his arms around Hao Lanren. His hands clenched tightly onto Hao Lanren's clothes. Feeling disgusted, Hao Lanren kicked him away with all his strength. The fat man spun a full 360 degrees in midair before crashing down, sitting there gasping for breath. Then he revealed a triumphant grin, holding up the clothes he had torn off Hao Lanren. "You fell for it." He ripped them to shreds on the spot. Hao Lanren's expression changed as he glanced behind him, realizing a piece of his pajama outfit was missing. He instantly understood. "So you pretended to fight me to the death. Your real goal was to destroy my pajamas and take back control of Evil Ghoul." Seeing the old man's pig-like head fully regenerated, Hao Lanren fell into brief thought. He hadn't expected that drink to regenerate even a crushed head. The old man gave him no time to think and roared while tugging his bow tie. "Evil Ghoul, kill him." Hao Lanren sneered. "I was planning to play a bit longer, but since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll grant your wish." With that, he activated the kaleidoscope Evil Wheel Eye. Evil Ghoul's attack came crashing down, but Hao Lanren dodged it with a single flash step. With his eye technique active, Evil Ghoul's movements looked as slow as a koala's. Hao Lanren weaved effortlessly through every opening. Facing Evil Ghoul's umbilical cord machine gun attacks, Hao Lanren saw through every trajectory and grabbed the third eye embedded in the cord, twisting it lightly until its color changed. Sensing the danger to its third eye, Evil Ghoul flew into a rage. It threw a punch at Hao Lanren, but he held the cord with one hand and looked at it with disdain. "Is that all you've got? My turn." He then shot forward like a cannonball, dragging the cord around Evil Ghoul's arm before soaring upward and looping it around Evil Ghoul's neck, tying a deadly knot. Watching Hao Lanren gain the upper hand, even in direct combat with Evil Ghoul, the old man broke out in cold sweat, realizing he was facing a true monster. Suddenly, he sensed his invincibility drug wearing off and bolted toward the exit in panic. At that moment, Shally darted past him and slashed his kidney with a swift strike. Pain exploded through his body as the fat man roared, "You bitch! I can regenerate, but that still hurts like hell." Before he could get far, an armor-piercing round blasted straight through his body. Feeling himself lose nearly 100 pounds in an instant, the old man stared in disbelief. That's some insane weight loss speed. When the old man saw Xiao Mei holding a sniper rifle, his face changed instantly as he cried out in shock. "How do you have a sniper rifle?" What answered him was the cold flash of sharp sword. "You should worry about your own life first," Xiao Li said coldly. Brother Hao Lanren already said it. Today, you're leaving here horizontally. But in the blink of an eye, the fat man who had just slimmed down rapidly swelled again, returning to his original size. Xiaoli widened her eyes. If my sister drinks that serum, wouldn't it cure her infected wound? She immediately glared at the old man and demanded to know where the serum came from. The old man grinned wickedly. That's good stuff. No matter what injury you have, once you drink it, you'll recover. Let me go, and I'll give it to you. Before he could finish, his heart suddenly began pounding violently. Pain twisted his face. Side effects. Looks like the effect is about to wear off. I need to get out of here now. At the same time, a burning pain surged through his arm, and he let out a scream. They thought binding the evil ghoul's neck with its umbilical cord would be enough to control it, but instead it brutally tore the cord off itself. The moment the cord snapped, the evil ghoul went completely berserk and charged straight at Hao Lanren. Hao Lanren didn't retreat. He sprinted up the evil ghoul's arm and leapt onto its shoulder, his pupils shifting. The Mangekyo evil wheel I activated as he clenched his fist and slammed it hard into the evil ghoul's head. With a thunderous crash, the evil ghoul collapsed heavily to the ground, but its wound crackled with energy and regenerated at a visible speed. Hao Lanren immediately changed tactics, controlling two zombies to circle rapidly around the evil ghoul. Driven mad by the constant provocation, the evil Oni struck with full force, only to shatter its own cervical spine. Seizing the moment, Hao Lanren shot forward like a cannonball, landing on the evil ghoul's shoulder and unleashing a storm of meteor fist strikes at its head. In just 0.1 seconds, he pierced straight through its skull, and the evil ghoul collapsed lifelessly to the ground. The old man's body began to mutate, turning into a half-human, half-ghoul creature as he muttered, "He told me the side effects were only muscle atrophy, so why did it turn out like this?" Hao Lanren stepped up, pulled out the bottle of happy water, and coldly asked who had given it to him. Already heavily corroded by the substance, the old man kept vomiting unknown fluids, repeating over and over, "I need to find him." Hao Lanren's expression darkened. "Who is he?" "The one who gave you the drug." "Where is he now?" But the man was already completely consumed by happy water, no longer human nor ghoul. He staggered and retched, even mistaking the evil ghoul, who regarded him as a father and tried to save him, for a grim reaper coming to kill him. Witnessing this, the evil ghoul shed tears of sorrow, but as the building collapsed, both were buried forever beneath the ruins. In the next instant, massive cracks spread across the giant safe ahead, blinding light pouring out from within. To uncover the truth, Hao Lanren walked straight toward it. A huge vault door emerged from the glowed as Xiaomei hesitated. Xiaoli swung her blade at it, only for the weapon to shatter instantly, leaving her stunned. Hao Lanren pushed the two aside, loosened up his joints, and prepared to take action himself. To their surprise, the shameless guy simply bent down and started entering a password. Xiaoli and Xiaomei stared at the photo in confusion until they noticed the numbers on the back and suddenly understood. With a click, the vault door slowly opened, revealing mountains of gold inside. Hao Lanren's eyes sparkled. As expected of the casino vault, this should be enough for me to return to my original world. Xiaomei interrupted, puzzled. "Brother Hao, how did you know the password?" Hao Lanren handed over the photo and explained. After the apocalypse began, the casino owners stockpiled gold, hoping to rise again once the virus was gone. He wrote the vault password on the back of a photo and tore it in half. One half was hidden in a secret office room, the other kept in his suit pocket. Later, the old man took the suit and didn't think much of it, even losing the photo while following me. By sheer coincidence, I obtained both halves and reconstructed the password. Xiaomei was still puzzled. "I don't understand why Brother Hao wants gold in the apocalypse. Gold is completely worthless, not even as valuable as a bottle of mineral water." What they didn't know was that this gold could be exchanged by Hao Lanren for anything they wanted. He merely touched the gold, and it began to vanish at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiaoli and Xiaomei were both stunned. even thinking that Hao Lanren might be the reincarnation of a great mage. Hao Lanren, however, remained calm as he looked at the rapidly skyrocketing balance in his account. Turning to the girls, he said, "All right, no more pretending that I'll be honest. I'm actually a billionaire who crossed over from another world." The girls found it hard to believe him, yet they had no way to explain his endless supply of food or the gold that disappeared out of thin air. The air suddenly fell silent. Xiaomei stepped forward timidly. "So, you need gold because you want to return to your original world?" Before Hao Lanren could answer, Xiaoli asked anxiously, "Then, will you come back?" Seeing Xiaoli's fear of losing him, Hao Lanren gently patted her head and smiled affectionately. "Of course. All my girls are still here. How could I not come back?" The words made Xiaomei's heart flutter. She blushed and covered her mouth, while Xiaoli also became shy and flustered. But in the next second, her expression changed completely. Seeing Xiaoli like that, Hao Lanren felt as if his feet were nailed to the ground, unable to move, and was taken down by a brutal scissor lock that left him utterly helpless. Wanting to stay far away from this hot-tempered woman, Hao Lanren sat on a high spot with a blade of foxtail grass in his mouth, watching the still angry Xiaoli with a playful smile. "The sun's already up. You still not coming out?" Suddenly, with a splash, a pair of small hands reached out from the soil. The unexpected movement startled Xiaoli. A small zombie burst out of the muddy ground, shooting toward Hao Lanren like a cannonball. Seeing a zombie moving at such terrifying speed, the girls' faces changed instantly as they shouted, "Brother Hao, watch out!" Hao Lanren glanced over coldly and caught the zombie by the neck with one hand. The small zombie struggled desperately, letting out hoarse growls. Hao Lanren gave a wicked smile. Not bad for a little evil ghoul. Even this small, it's still that strong. Hearing the term little evil ghoul, the girls looked confused. Isn't the evil ghoul supposed to be enormous? How did it become so small? It's always been this small. The giant form was just one of its abilities. When I saw the infant inside at the old man's place, I knew it wasn't that simple. It listens to commands like a child. That means the infant is the true core of the evil ghoul. I wanted to study the connection between the evil ghoul and that regenerative happy water, but the building collapsed too fast. Hao Lanren said, "So then, little evil ghoul, tell me everything you know." Was this what people meant by suddenly becoming a dad? Hao Lanren handed the small zombie a pacifier, only for it to immediately call him mom, jump into his arms, and ask for a hug. Looking at the small zombie that had tried to stab his kidney just moments ago and was now drooling all over him, Hao Lanren wore a look of pure disgust, holding it at arm's length to keep it away. Xiaoli and Xiaomei watched with schadenfreude. So it really is true. Milk makes the mother. If it didn't bite people, I'd totally be its godmother. Hearing that, Hao Lanren grew irritated. He put on a fierce expression to intimidate the small zombie and sternly warned it never to bite anyone again, or would never get another pacifier. The small zombie seemed to understand and immediately quieted down. Seeing how obedient the small zombie was, Xiaoli's maternal instincts overflowed, and she hoped Hao Lanren would keep it. Keeping the small zombie meant it could help him kill zombies, but killing it would earn him a system reward. Hao Lanren found himself torn between the two choices. At that moment, the system suddenly appeared. Congratulations, host. Through sheer charisma, you have subdued the evil ghoul and exceeded the mission requirements. The 100 million reward has been credited. In addition, bonus reward adjustment has been activated. The system will now undergo an upgrade. Faced with the sudden windfall, Hao Lanren stood there in a daze. The system gave him no time to react and immediately presented three options after the upgrade. First option, a simplified attribute cheat. Attribute points dropped by monsters could be picked up directly and used to enhance his stats. Second option, a personal dungeon, where he could take shelter, grind levels, hunt monsters, and grow stronger in secret. Third option, Hao Lanren's favorite feature, forming his own girl group in the apocalypse. Each woman recruited as a member would grant massive rewards, but the limit was 99 members. The countdown starts now. You have 5 minutes to make your choice. Before the system could finish speaking, Hao Lanren cut it off in the next instant. He transformed into a domineering CEO and chose the third option without hesitation. With a serious expression, he declared, "A girl group is the choice of a mature man." Looking at Hao Lanren, the system gave him a pitying glance. After the upgrade, you can view the affection levels of all women. When someone's affection reaches 100, you may decide whether to recruit her into the girl group. Members will also receive system protection and rewards. Hearing this, Hao Lanren was moved to tears. This was tailor-made for me. He had thought sudden fatherhood was unbearable for any man, yet the system had delivered a special reward instead. As long as a woman's affection reached 100, he could directly add her to his harem, and the system even provided him with a room every hardcore homebody dreamed of. Staring at the dazzling benefits inside the room and imagining his future life, Hao Lanren became so excited that he bounced around on the sofa like an overjoyed husky. At that moment, a system notification popped up, detected that the evil ghoul's affection toward the host has reached. Would you like to recruit into the girl group? Recruitment will grant rewards. Seeing this message, even the system goddess hadn't expected the evil ghoul to be a little girl. A faint smile appeared at Hao Lanren's lips as he immediately confirmed the selection. The screen then displayed the girl group member profile. Young evil ghoul, juvenile. Level 1 skills. Parasitic evil, ILV.1. Disguise LV.1. Sonic detection LV.1. The system goddess announced, "Congratulations, host. You have recruited your first girl group member. You will receive the following rewards. 50 gene of fresh pork, 50 gene of fresh beef, 2 non-fu rechargeable batteries, and 1 mysterious crystal capable of plundering unknown abilities." Staring at the syringe in his hand, Hao Lanren asked in confusion, "Is this used to extract abilities from zombies or evil ghouls?" The system goddess replied, "Congratulations, you guessed correctly. Extracted abilities can be injected into humans, granting them special powers." Realization dawned on Hao Lanren. Then the so-called happy water that old man drank must have been something similar, right? The system goddess replied arrogantly, No, this is not that kind of low-grade product with side effects." Hao Lanren picked up the crystal again and asked, "Then what exactly is this?" The system goddess gave a sly smile. "That is something you'll have to explore on your own." Too lazy to think further, Hao Lanren tossed the crystal straight into the meat storage box. Watching his account balance skyrocket, the system goddess asked, "Would you like to open the gate to return to your original world now?" Hao Lanren shook his head, realizing he still hadn't properly settled Xiaoli and Xiaomei, and ended his conversation with the system. When he returned to reality, the first thing he saw was the first member of his girl group. Turning his gaze to Xiaoli and Xiaomei, he discovered that their affection toward him had already reached 80. Hao Lanren thought to himself, after spending days together and going through life and death, this level of affection makes sense. He clenched his fist, making a silent vow. "When I come back, I'll definitely recruit them into the girl group." Behind him, the evil ghoul mimicked the gesture and clenched its fist as well, perfectly in sync. Xiaoli and Xiaomei were left speechless, suspecting the two had knocked their heads silly during the earlier fight. To stop them from acting any stranger, Xiaoli stepped forward and suggested giving the young evil ghoul a name. Seeing the expectant looks on Xiaoli and Xiaomei's faces, and then the silly expression of the young evil ghoul, inspiration struck Hao Lanren. "Let's call her Hao Guai." After playing with Hao Guai for a while, Hao Lanren told her to listen to the sisters while he was away. He also informed Xiaoli and Xiaomei that he needed to head back for a bit, though there was still one important matter to take care of before leaving. At that moment, a woman, driven by jealousy and the desire for favor, turned on her own close friend. All because that friend had tried to help her escape the clutches of that disgusting fat man. She pretended to agree, but secretly raised a wine bottle to ambush the short-haired girl. After the ambush succeeded, the short-haired woman didn't fight back. Instead, she calmly asked why, at a time like this, she was still competing for favor. The woman didn't answer. Instead, she sternly scolded the short-haired woman. "That fat man dotes on you so much, yet you still want to run? I'm not fighting for affection. I'm fighting for resources. You idiot. Food only gets scarcer if you die. I get to live longer. The short-haired woman clenched her teeth in fury. If this is what you call living, then I'd rather die outside. Just give me the fat man's car keys that I'll leave on my own. Hearing her demand the car keys, the woman clenched her fist, her face turning vicious as she lunged forward. The short-haired woman had no intention of fighting back and kept retreating, but her foot slipped. She lost her balance and was slashed across the shoulder. Seeing she had nowhere left to retreat, the woman pressed the attack. Luckily, the short-haired woman barely managed to block it, avoiding a fatal stab to the waist. By then, she was at her limit. Just as the two were locked in a deadlock, Hao Lanren arrived at the door with Hao Guai and kicked it open. The door slammed shut again, pinning both women in place. Seeing the empty room, Hao Lanren and Hao Guai looked puzzled. When they turned and saw the two women clinging to each other, they briefly thought something indecent was going on. The next second, the woman dropped to her knees, a dagger buried deep in her chest. When the short-haired woman realized it was Hao Lanren, she finally relaxed, but the thought that the fat man might be right behind him sent her sprinting madly toward the door. After hearing Hao Lanren say the fat man was dead, she froze, her face filled with shock, unable to believe that someone who controlled the evil ghoul could actually be killed. Hao Lanren said coldly, "I killed that woman's ATM." To his surprise, the short-haired woman sneered, "Good. That sick bastard deserved it." It turned out that these women had all been captured and imprisoned here by that fat man. Although he provided them with extremely precious food in the apocalypse, his twisted obsessions made them desperate to escape. When Hao Lanren arrived, the woman thought he had come to take them away. After learning that he was only investigating the happy water, she felt a trace of disappointment, but still told him everything she knew. The fat man would secretly go out alone at midnight once every 2 months. One time, the woman accidentally discovered that he was meeting someone called Brother Chin, and the two even discussed the evil ghoul. Brother Chin warned him that if the evil ghoul failed to evolve within half a year, he would kill him outright. Hao Lanren glanced at Hao Guai and asked in confusion, "The evil ghoul can still evolve. And who exactly is this Brother Chin?" "I don't know his true identity," the woman said, "but I'm sure this bottle came from him." She pointed at the bottle. The symbol on Brother Chin's clothes is exactly the same as the mark on this bottle. After getting the answers he wanted, Hao Lanren put the bottle away and prepared to leave. But just as he reached the door, the woman called out to him, her cheeks flushed. "I'm heading to the survivor base. Dio, you want to come with me?" Hao Lanren turned back with a faint smile. "I'd love to, but if the two women at home find out I ran off with someone else, they'd probably chase me down with knives." Watching him leave just like that, the woman felt a deep sense of reluctance, secretly wishing she could be someone he truly cared about. After returning home, Hao Lanren left plenty of food and water for Xiaoli and Xiaomei, and even cleared out all the zombies in the surrounding area. Only then did he summon the goddess system once more, preparing to open the gateway back to his original world. He placed one hand on the gate, and the system immediately announced, "Transit gate activated. 100 million coins deducted. Return duration, 24 hours. After 24 hours, the transit gate will reopen and send you back to the apocalypse." Time flow between both worlds is synchronized. The return location will be the same as the previous activation point. A blinding light enveloped Hao Lanren, and in the next instant, he was standing before a familiar gate. As he slowly pushed it open, the scene before him made his eyes widen in disbelief. The moment Hao Lanren returned from the apocalypse, he saw a group of burly men aiming guns at him, while the woman he once loved, who had ultimately caused his death, approached him with a mocking smile. Seeing Hao Lanren standing there completely unharmed, the woman's expression instantly turned ugly. She couldn't believe what she was seeing, that the person closest to him. She knew all his trump cards. There was no way he could have survived a plane crash unscathed. In her mind, Hao Lanren was merely putting on a brave front. Hao Lanren looked at her shocked expression and sneered. "Are you scared? Are you already wondering whether you should kneel down and beg me for forgiveness? The woman still didn't believe he had any ability to fight back. She scoffed arrogantly. You're about to die, and you're still pretending. How Lanren saw straight through her thoughts and taunted her. Whether I'm pretending or not, why don't you come over and find out? Seeing his confident, utterly disdainful attitude, the woman ground her teeth in rage. Don't think being a grandmaster makes you untouchable. Today, I'll make you kneel and beg me. Behind her, a simple-minded man who looked like he'd grown up on tainted milk stepped forward, staring at Hal Lanren with a blank, foolish expression. Facing the woman's twisted grin, Hal Lanren casually picked his nose and gave her a look filled with quiet mockery. By then, the foolish brothers had already grabbed the serum. Without hesitation, they drove the syringes straight into their own necks. Hal Lanren thought to himself, no wonder. They don't even flinch at the pain. As soon as the injection was complete, the twins' bodies began to change. The woman looked at Hal Lanren confidently and said, Martial masters are divided into innate, post-innate, grandmaster, and great-grandmaster. Each level has an insurmountable gap. The brothers' clothes tore apart as their muscles rapidly swelled, making them look like roasted pigs suddenly standing upright. The woman sneered. This serum boosts their strength and speed tenfold. Right now, you're nothing more than a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Just then, a voice interrupted her. When the woman saw who was approaching, her expression instantly changed. It was Yufeng, CEO of FSM Biotech, who had long admired Hal Lanren. Yufeng stepped in front of Hal Lanren with commanding presence, calmly scanning the burly men around them. I'd like to see who dares lay a hand on my person. Hearing the words my person, Hal Lanren suddenly looked shy, his thoughts clearly wandering somewhere inappropriate. Because of Yufeng's status, the woman didn't dare attack directly. She sneered darkly at Hal Lanren. What? The mighty leader of the men's gang now needs a woman to protect him? A real man shields women from the storm. Hal Lanren gave a wicked smile and stepped forward, placing himself in front of Yufeng instead, that why Yufeng thought he was being reckless and couldn't help but look worried. Hal Lanren quickly reassured him, then walked toward the foolish brothers with open disdain. At this moment, the foolish brothers were wildly swinging what they proudly called their homework writing right hand. But the moment they saw Hal Lanren's expression, they were driven into a frenzy of rage. Fortunately, they weren't completely blinded by anger and decided to let Erlung step forward first to test Hal Lanren's strength. Erlung charged like a cannonball, but Hal Lanren sidestepped effortlessly and flipped up a massive boulder, hurling it straight at him. Erlung kicked the boulder away with one leg, sending shards of rock flying in all directions with terrifying force. The scattered stones were easily blocked by the powerful fighters present. As the dust slowly settled, Hal Lanren's figure gradually came back into view. He spread his hand wide, his gaze sharp as he locked onto Erlung. If you want to fight, he said coldly, then come. At first, Hal Lanren thought the woman had hired the two grandmasters under duress, so he held back. But after realizing that every move they made was lethal, he finally stopped restraining himself. Seeing Hal Lanren get serious, the once dominant Xiong heir sneered, in the next instant. Hal Lanren unleashed a Tang sect secret art, Ghost Shadow Steps. With a sharp whoosh, his figure vanished. In the blink of an eye, Hal Lanren appeared behind Xiong heir. A crushing pressure hit him, as he couldn't track Hal Lanren's movements at all. Witnessing Hal Lanren's overwhelming power, Xiong Da's face changed drastically, and he urgently warned Xiong heir of his position. But when Xiong heir slashed backward, Hal Lanren was already gone. Watching the two struggle in panic, reduced to pure defense, Hal Lanren decided to add insult to injury and launched a relentless verbal assault. Xiong Da and Xiong heir quickly devised a plan, preparing a pincer attack from above and below. Once Hal Lanren's position was locked, Xiong Da unleashed the flying crane grappling hand toward his upper body, while Xiong heir charged straight in with a coiling dragon kick. Sensing the surge in their strength under the effects of the serum, How Lanren activated the purple gold demon eye and rushed forward using ghost shadow steps. How Lanren struck Xiong Da's lower back with a palm. The ultimate art, bone-melting soft palm, erupted, and Xiong Da immediately spat out blood. Xiong Er, charging too recklessly, overshot his target. When he turned back and saw Xiong Da's miserable state, he skidded to a halt, sparks flying across the ground, then fixed Hao Lanren with a murderous glare. If looks could kill, Hao Lanren would have died 10,000 times already. Xiong Er's face twisted with rage. He threw a punch straight at Hao Lanren's head, but under the purple gold demon eye, the attack moved as slowly as a crawling snail. Only an afterimage lingered in the air, while Xiong Er's fist slammed squarely into Xiong Da's face, forcing out what little blood he had left. Seeing Xiong Da roll his eyes, Xiong Er's eyes went wide in shock, and he instinctively cursed aloud. At that moment, Hao Lanren appeared behind Xiong Da, extending his palm as energy rapidly gathered within it. With the ultimate, supreme Tathagata palm crashing down, both Xiong Da and Xiong Er were slammed into the wall, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. When the smoke cleared, Xiong Da and Xiong Er lay motionless amid the rubble. The man showed no reaction to the woman throwing herself at him. Every assassin she had sent was easily dealt with by Hao Lanren. Witnessing this, he was utterly shaken by Hao Lanren's strength. He had planned to slip away before being noticed, but just as the woman stepped onto the plane with one foot, Hao Lanren called out to her. Hao Lanren's face darkened, veins bulging as he said coldly, "Did you really leave me and let your brain grow on your chest? Have you already forgotten what happens to people who betray me?" Trembling, the woman asked, "What do I need to do for you to let me go?" Hao Lanren turned with a sinister smile. "Simple. Just tell me who gave you the drug." Standing face to face with him, the woman couldn't believe the condition was that straightforward. But with no strength left to resist, she clenched her teeth and confessed everything. The drug, it turned out, was a new project developed by a cutting-edge weapons company. The person who gave it to her was the company's CEO, Zhou Jun, and he was also the one who orchestrated the plane crash meant to kill Hao Lanren. The woman insisted that everything she did had been under Zhou Jun's threats. In the next moment, however, she pressed herself against Hao Lanren, her chest tight against him, cheeks flushed as she whispered pleas for forgiveness. Hao Lanren looked at her with contempt and said coldly, "Enough. Speak properly. Stop trying to fool me." A sharp pain shot through her fingers. She stared at him in disbelief. How is this possible? He used to cherish me so much. How could he be like this now? Hao Lanren didn't linger in his memories. His eyes turned vicious as he stared straight at the woman and asked coldly, "Tell me, why did he want me dead? And where is he now?" The woman finally accepted reality and collapsed to her knees. Trembling, she said, "He seemed to want something from your territory. As for where he is, I really don't know, that he always contacted me one-sidedly." The next moment, Hao Lanren grabbed her face and continued pressing for answers. Terrified by the sudden move, she shook violently. "I really don't know." But Hao Lanren didn't loosen his grip until tears were forced from her eyes. Only then did he let go. Looking down at the woman as she coughed violently, Hao Lanren pointed at her from above. "Hao Lanren, keep my word. This time, I'll spare you." With that, he turned and walked away. Yet the moment Hao Lanren left, the woman's pitiful expression vanished. In the blink of an eye, she showed just how fast a woman could change her face. Suddenly, a voice made her heart skip a beat. Hao Lanren agreed to let you go, but some people didn't. Yufeng appeared, walking toward her with his subordinates. When rivals meet, sparks fly. Seizing the chance, Yufeng beat Ji Ro until her face was swollen, then tied her up, preparing to take her away. Even in that state, Ji Ro still screamed hysterically, "If any of you dare touch me, I'll make sure your brothers turn on each other." Watching Ji Ro completely lose control, Hao Lanren didn't respond. He only told Yufeng to pry every secret out of her mouth. After all, they had once loved each other, and he couldn't bring himself to do it personally. Hao Lanren then handed Yu Feng a slip of paper, instructing her to gather everything listed on it. When Yu Feng read the list, she froze on the spot, half convinced he was about to claim a mountain and start his own faction. But recalling that Hao Lanren's accounts had been frozen during his disappearance, and that he was now completely broke, she still told him the truth. She had planned to spend money and effort to help him get everything done, hoping it would bring them closer. But Hao Lanren only sneered and pulled out an unlimited limit ultimate straight man card. Take it. Use it however you want it. If it's not enough, just come ask me, Hao Lanren said casually. The card, it turned out, had been given to him by the system goddess. Its balance was linked directly to system coins, allowing him to spend freely in the original world. Yu Feng stared at the man in front of her, feeling deeply annoyed. What a hopeless straight guy. She thought, I practically threw myself at him, and he didn't care at all. Completely oblivious to her thoughts, Hao Lanren finished giving instructions and headed alone to a hotel in the city. Entering a rundown place so shabby it could make even rats cry, Hao Lanren tapped the counter lightly. The man behind the counter, smoking a cigarette, didn't even look up. He said all rooms were full and told Hao Lanren to leave. But when Hao Lanren quietly said the code phrase, "Potato, potato, I'm a sweet potato," the man instantly straightened up and replied nervously, stinky fish, I'm a rotten shrimp." After successfully confirming the code, the man led Hao Lanren down to the basement and told him to go in alone. The moment Hao Lanren pushed the door open, a massive hand lunged toward him. A veteran of countless battles, Hao Lanren wasn't about to get caught so easily that he sidestepped, dropped his backpack, and counterattacked at once. He bent low and sprang backward, performing a clean backflip to evade the strike. When he looked up, both sides locked eyes, then broke into smiles. Seeing Hao Lanren again, the others burst into excitement and immediately began complaining all at once. Back then, 8 brothers had followed Hao Lanren to conquer the world. But after Jiro's relentless pursuit, only 5 remained to avoid her. They had been hiding here ever since, afraid to go outside. Hearing this, Hao Lanren crushed a soda can nearly a meter thick with his bare hand in fury. Even so, he didn't let anger cloud his judgment. Instead, he instructed them to operate in the shadows, protecting themselves while uncovering the force backing Jiro. He explained that he would be leaving for a while and had already left enough funds to keep the company running that if anything came up, they could seek help from Yu Feng. As the saying goes, when a woman chases a man, it's only a thin veil, but that rule clearly didn't apply to Yu Feng. She prepared 2 full crates of supplies for Hao Lanren like a devoted lackey, only for him to ask her for yet another favor. Yu Feng couldn't help but glare at him fiercely. "You're treating me like a tool, aren't you?" Seeing Yu Feng on the verge of exploding, Hao Lanren scratched his cheek guiltily. "No, it's not like that. This is something you'll definitely be interested in." When Yu Feng saw what Hao Lanren took out, she showed a look of disdain, but his next move left everyone stunned. He dripped a single drop of happy water into a white mouse's mouth. In an instant, the mouse's head separated cleanly from its body. But the next second, something even more bizarre happened. The wound began to writhe, and in the blink of an eye, a brand new mouse head regenerated. Yu Feng was completely shocked by what she saw, unable to say a word. A thought immediately formed in her mind. If this drug could be researched and replicated, her family would achieve a massive leap forward. After finally calming herself down, Yu Feng agreed to Hao Lanren's request, though she couldn't help complaining that he'd wasted too much happy water on the mouse. Hao Lanren didn't argue back. He was only worried that Yu Feng might not have fully grasped the drug's effect and think he truly saw her as nothing more than a tool. He then asked Yu Feng to look after the Lanren gang brothers while he was away. Hearing Hao Lanren say he would be gone, Yu Feng's expression changed instantly. She almost thought his life was in danger. Fortunately, Hao Lanren quickly explained that he would return soon, which finally put Yu Feng at ease. Seeing Hao Lanren return after disappearing for a while and acting so mysteriously, Yu Feng couldn't help but fall into deep thought. After a long day finally passed, Hao Lanren received the system's teleportation notification. While waiting, Hao Lanren felt smug about all the supplies he had brought back, already imagining the rewards Xiaoli and Xiaomei might give him once they saw them. The thought went a bit too far. His nose started bleeding before he could stop himself. As the system teleportation activated, the sound of rushing water echoed in his ears. In the next instant, Hao Lanren appeared inside a bathroom. The scene felt strangely familiar. It was exactly where everything had begun. The baby had grown into a little girl in just one day. Fresh from teleportation, Hao Lanren mistook her for a new type of zombie. He lunged forward instinctively, only for her to leap up and catch him instead. The next moment, the little girl grabbed Hao Lanren's hands and spun him into an invincible whirlwind, leaving him sprawled on the floor in pain afterward. When the little girl suddenly called out, "Mommy," Hao Lanren finally realized what was going on. Just then, Xiaomei pushed open the door, and her expression instantly darkened at the sight. Hao Lanren immediately understood what she was thinking and hurriedly explained, "It's not what it looks like." After an awkward stretch of silence, the little girl finally finished changing her clothes. Hao Lanren then learned the whole story from Xiaomei. Seeing her remain silent, he thought she was about to let it go. The next second, Xiaomei looked at him with open sarcasm. "I never thought you'd be such a beast. Even kids aren't off limits to you." Hao Lanren coughed awkwardly, trying to ease the tension, then made up an excuse so ridiculous even a dog wouldn't believe it. Xiaomei shot him a look of pure disdain. "So, are you satisfied now? Go play with Hao Guai next." Hearing the words "play a game," Hao Lanren assumed the issue was over. When he found out it was soccer, he even bragged about dribbling like Messi and shooting like Heskey. Before he could finish, Hao Guai unleashed a brutal shot straight to his face, nearly knocking his brains loose. Regaining his senses, Hao Lanren could only save face by saying, "I underestimated it, didn't dodge in time." Just like that, the incident finally came to an end. That night, Hao Lanren took out the supplies he had brought back and prepared a barbecue on the rooftop for Xiaomei and Hao Guai. Xiaomei was no longer angry and explained that Hao Guai had turned into a little girl after sneaking some pork. As she grew, her speech became smoother, but her thinking was still childlike. She didn't even know to take off her clothes when bathing. Hearing the word clothes, Hao Lanren remembered the new outfits and equipment he had brought back from the original world and handed them to Xiaomei. While Xiaomei was changing clothes, Hao Lanren wondered whether Hao Guai's abilities had changed now that she had grown. He opened the system interface, which displayed Member Status, Hao Guai, Growth Stage, Level 5. Skills. Parasitic Evil, LV.1, Disguise LV.1, Sonic Search LV.1. Seeing that Hao Guai had only advanced from infancy to the growth stage, Hao Lanren felt puzzled. At that moment, a voice interrupted his thoughts as Xiaomei and Hao Guai came out, already changed. Acting like a full-time dad, Hao Lanren treated Hao Guai to a hearty meal. Only then did he learn from her that, before evolving, she had eaten not only meat but also a red stone. Hearing about the red stone, Hao Lanren suddenly understood. It was a reward from the system that he hadn't paid attention and had tossed it into the box of pork chops, never expecting Hao Guai to eat it by mistake and trigger evolution. Still, it was unclear whether Hao Guai's transformation ability remained after the evolution. With that in mind, Hao Lanren decided to test it himself. He took a poster out of his pocket, placed it in front of Hao Guai, and seriously asked her to try transforming into the image on it. But when Hao Guai saw what was on the poster, she froze on the spot. At that moment, the tightly shut door suddenly began to bang loudly. Thinking it was Xiaoli returning from outside, Xiaomei opened the door without any caution. The next second, a zombie with a face full of pustules and green drool dripping from its mouth appeared right behind Xiaomei. Seeing the zombie so close, Xiaomei's eyes filled with terror. Hao Lanren, holding a skewer in his mouth, shouted for Xiaomei to hurry back and eat the barbecue, leaving the rest to him. The zombie was pulling bamboo skewers out of its own body. Watching the green fluid ooze from its wounds, Hao Lanren immediately judged that it had no regenerative ability. He instantly sprang into action, leaping forward like a bamboo skewer wolf and attacking the zombie with the skewers in his hands. However, this level of damage was nothing more than painless acupuncture to the zombie. The zombie ripped out another skewer and flung it straight at Hao Guai, but she caught it effortlessly. Yet the green liquid coating the skewer began to corrode Hao Guai's small hand. Seeing this, Xiao Mei cried out in alarm, telling Hao Guai to let go immediately. At that moment, green gas and liquid started pouring out of the zombie's wounds, until its entire body was engulfed. The zombie slowly closed in on Hao Guai, while Hao Guai grasped the power of lightning, her wounds healing instantly. She even raised her fingers delicately, her entire body radiating with dazzling light. Only then did Hao Lanren realize that he had originally wanted Hao Guai to transform into the big sister from the poster. But she had been pretending she couldn't in actual combat. She instead transformed into his own appearance and even copied his techniques to attack the zombie. After she successfully drove the zombie back, Hao Lanren was just starting to feel relieved, thinking he had gained another powerful combat asset. But then she suddenly called him Mom and, wearing his appearance, struck an extremely effeminate pose. Hao Lanren's expression instantly darkened, while Xiao Mei couldn't help secretly laughing at the side. Hao Lanren wished he could crawl into a hole on the spot. His carefully maintained image in front of Xiao Mei shattered in an instant, so he immediately turned and scolded Hao Guai, telling her to change back at once. At that moment, the zombie that had been repelled suddenly lunged forward again, trying to attack Hao Lanren with the corrosive fluid on its arm. Seeing the hands about to touch him, Hao Lanren immediately activated his martial eye soul to control the zombie, only for the system to notify him that the control had failed. Fortunately, Hao Lanren reacted swiftly and easily dodged the attack. He hadn't rushed to kill the zombie earlier because he was testing Hao Guai's abilities. Now that he had his answer, there was no reason to keep it alive. After killing the zombie, the system informed him that it was a special zombie and rewarded him with 5 million gold coins. Hao Lanren fell into thought. Previously, killing zombies only earned 1 million, but now the reward had jumped to 5 million. At that moment, Hao Guai finally reverted to her original form. Looking at the dead zombie, she actually tried to step closer to take a bite. Hao Lanren and Xiao Mei were both stunned and hurriedly stopped her, giving her a proper scolding. When Hao Lanren noticed the crystal in Hao Guai's hand, he recalled that it was precisely this item she had eaten to evolve into a little girl. At that moment, the system goddess suddenly summoned Hao Lanren into the system space. After speaking with her, he learned that every zombie contained a special form of energy. Ordinary zombies had energy that was too thin to condense into crystals, but by devouring other zombies, they could continuously accumulate power. With enough energy, a crystal would eventually form, and some could even evolve into powerful abyssal ghouls. In this zombie-infested world, zombies could not only mutate by devouring their own kind, but once the number they consumed reached 10,000, they could even recover their memories and awaken different abilities. That was why, no matter the circumstances, one had to strive forward. Even if turned into a zombie, one should be a zombie with ambition. Hao Lanren couldn't help imagining Hao Guai continuing to devour crystals, perhaps evolving into a brute force muscle monster, a mutated beast-type ability user, or even a lowly with alien blood. Eager to nurture Hao Guai as soon as possible, Hao Lanren was suddenly scolded harshly by the system goddess. Yet Hao Lanren only gave a wicked smile, teased the system a bit, and was promptly teleported out, leaving the goddess behind in helpless fury. After returning, Hao Lanren noticed Xiao Mei standing around the zombie, looking confused. Xiao Mei pointed at a piece of torn cloth on the zombie, saying it looked like part of Xiao Li's dress. Hao Lanren's expression changed drastically, and he immediately led everyone onto the path to search for Xiao Li. Soon, they discovered an incomplete mark left by Xiao Li on a rock. Realizing that Xiao Li might be in danger, Xiao Mei couldn't hold back her tears. At that moment, the once silent forest erupted in chaos as large numbers of bats burst out from the depths of the woods. A sound rapidly approached, and a girl came sprinting out of the forest with a pack of mutated zombie dogs close behind her. Seeing so many zombie dogs at once, Hao Lanren was momentarily stunned. But in the blink of an eye, they were completely surrounded. A hairless zombie dog slowly stepped forward, flanked by several underlings. Thinking of taking out the leader first, Hao Lanren tried to control it with his eye technique, but the system immediately reported a failure. Even the red zombie dog itself looked confused, clearly not understanding what Hao Lanren had just been pointing at. With a fierce roar, two underlings lunged forward, reaching Hao Lanren in the next instant. Yet Hao Lanren remained steady as a rock, that he pulled out his prized weapon and unleashed a flawless staff technique against the zombie dogs. The glasses-wearing girl beside him couldn't help but praise his skill. After earning 4 million in rewards, Hao Lanren gripped the staff and stared coldly at the red zombie dog. "You're next." But just as the staff was about to strike, the zombie dog curled its lips into a mocking grin, opened its bloody jaws, and clamped down hard on the entire weapon. The zombie dogs were no longer dumb or sluggish. The leader immediately directed its pack to charge at Hao Guai. While in Hao Guai's eyes, they looked more like delicious food. She even drooled as she opened her arms, ready to give them a loving hug. No one knew whether she had brought any seasoning that ate tea that moment. The zombie dog revealed a cunning grin, and in the next second, its massive jaws shot toward Hao Lanren like writhing tentacles. That speed was far too slow in Hao Lanren's eyes that he sidestepped effortlessly, then unleashed a palm technique no girl could resist, the heartbreaking soul palm. The zombie dog was split cleanly in two, while Hao Guai swiftly finished off the remaining zombie dogs and hopped back cheerfully. Then, a purple glow burst from the shattered mouth of the zombie dog, and a brilliantly shining crystal slowly emerged. Seeing it, Hao Guai immediately acted spoiled, saying she was hungry as a devoted caretaker. Hao Lanren naturally agreed, but warned her that she could only eat the crystal, not the flesh. What happened next made Hao Lanren break into a cold sweat. At the same time, the system notification appeared. Special zombie dog defeated. Reward, 50 million coins. The glasses-wearing girl and Xiao Mei approached, and through their conversation, Hao Lanren learned her name was Yunana. She and her brother had gone out to search for food, but on their way back, they accidentally alerted a zombie horde. Her brother sacrificed himself to save her. After the fierce battle, fearing it might attract even more zombie dogs, Yunana urgently urged Hao Lanren to leave as soon as possible. However, Xiao Mei remembered that Xiao Li's trail had vanished right here, and with so many zombie dogs nearby, she couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. When the girl nearby heard the name Xiao Li, she cautiously asked Xiao Mei whether it was a girl who looked very similar to her and wore a short skirt. Upon hearing news about Xiao Li, Xiao Mei completely lost control, grabbing the girl and shaking her wildly. From Nana's description, Hao Lanren finally confirmed that Xiao Li had been taken to the abandoned factory. To rescue her, they quietly approached the factory, but the towering walls and heavily guarded gate left them with no clear way in. As Hao Lanren considered their options, he decided to activate his X-ray vision to scout the area first. Inside the factory, a small patrol team was moving in perfect formation. First, he thought they were soldiers, but soon realized none of them were carrying weapons, which puzzled him. In the next instant, Hao Lanren's expression changed drastically. Those people suddenly opened their blood-red eyes and looked straight toward him. He immediately shut off his vision. He quickly shared everything he had seen with the others, sensing that the situation was slipping beyond his control. Just then, a rustling sound echoed from the surrounding area. 2 zombies appeared, escorting a woman forward. Hao Lanren immediately signaled everyone to hide beneath the vehicle. The captured woman kept crying for help. Hearing her voice, Hao Lanren felt a strange familiarity. Peering through a gap, he recognized her. It was a woman who had once murdered her own sister out of jealousy. Hao Lanren had no intention of saving her. He simply watched coldly as the zombies dragged her into the factory. At that moment, An idea suddenly flashed through Hao Lanren's mind. He turned his gaze toward the two zombies guarding the main gate. In the next second, Hao Lanren and Xiao Mei quickly changed into zombie outfits. With a mischievous grin, he waved Hao Guai over. Hao Guai looked completely confused, but the two sly adults imitated the zombie's movements, grabbed her, and dragged her straight inside. Outside, Nana watched the scene unfold, cold sweat instantly forming on her back. The next moment, she adjusted her glasses and revealed a look of quiet triumph. This was a factory that used humans as experimental subjects. All captured humans were drained of blood and dried into so-called human pills. And yet, Hao Lanren still chose to risk everything and enter the factory to save his woman. As they went deeper inside, the overwhelming stench of blood became unbearable. Even Hao Guai, reborn as a zombie, felt afraid and tugged at Hao Lanren's clothes, trying to stop him from moving forward. Seeing her nervous state, Hao Lanren crouched down and explained why they were here, reassuring her that if she was scared, she could use her disguise ability and hide in his arms. With that, they continued searching for Xiao Li. Before long, a beam of light appeared in their field of vision. Hao Lanren grabbed the door handle and yanked it open. What greeted them was a room decorated in a girlish style, and inside stood a little girl applying lipstick. Xiao Li froze in shock and blurted out, "Why is there a girl here?" Unexpectedly, the little girl turned around and flashed them a sinister smile. Hao Lanren immediately warned Xiao Li in a low voice that the girl before them was the evil ghoul. Just as Hao Lanren was about to eliminate her, Xiao Mei grabbed his arm and stepped forward to greet the girl instead. Seeing that the evil ghoul possessed intelligence, she hoped to extract information about Xiao Li from her. The little girl appeared extremely hospitable, inviting them inside and even offering food to entertain her guests. However, when she brought out a plate, it was covered with flies. Xiao Li quickly declined the hospitality and urgently asked about Xiao Li's whereabouts. Before any useful information could be obtained, the name Sister Meow Meow suddenly sent the little girl into a frenzy. She violently flipped the plate, and countless large-headed flies burst out from all over her body. Seeing this, Hao Lanren immediately warned everyone to be careful. The little girl was already on the brink of rampage, and the flies had somehow surrounded an arm, stripping it down to bare bone in an instant. Hao Lanren made a swift decision, signaling everyone to retreat quietly while instructing Hao Guai to use her disguise ability and hide in his arms. But the moment they opened the door, the little girl was alerted, and the swarm of flies lunged straight at Hao Lanren. With no other choice, Hao Lanren grabbed Xiao Mei and sprinted for the exit, but their speed was no match for the swarm of flies. At a nearby junction, Hao Lanren swiftly controlled two zombie rats and sent them charging out, successfully drawing the little girl's attention. After killing the zombie rats, the little girl realized she had been tricked and flew into a furious rage. Xiao Mei observed from behind the door when the little girl suddenly turned toward it. Sensing something that frightened her inside, she immediately retreated back to her quarters. Only then did Hao Lanren realize that zombies not only possess special abilities, but also captured humans for experiments. Just as he escaped the little girl's pursuit, a figure appeared behind him. A boy slowly walked toward him. At last, Hao Lanren clearly saw the room's interior. Piles of corpses and countless books on anatomical research. Suddenly, both Hao Lanren and Xiao Mei were struck with terror as they saw a woman bound tightly to an operating table. The sight sent a rush of blood to Hao Lanren's head, and his nose began bleeding again. Just before he could collapse from blood loss, the system forcefully intervened, popping up a screen that blocked his vision. Quest triggered. Rescue the hostage and defeat the strongest evil ghoul in the nest. Rewards: 1 10-pull draw, 500 million coins, and a mysterious reward. Hearing that it involved another evil ghoul, Hao Lanren felt utterly speechless. He intended to gather some information, but the system merely told him to search for clues on his own before disappearing, leaving him deep in thought. The next moment, Hao Lanren turned confidently toward Chicken Bro and said firmly, "That woman is my friend. You're not allowed to touch her." AS for the blonde girl. "Hand her over." and I'll let you leave." The boy seemed to hear the biggest joke imaginable, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "Once my Jimmy Tai family arrives, you'll learn exactly how to write the word death." He paused, then glanced at Hao Guai. "But the little girl beside you can join us, I can tell. She's the same kind as me, that I won't lay a hand on her." Before he could finish, Hao Guai pulled a face at him, her expression filled with open mockery. Hearing him try to take his people right in front of him, Hao Lanren clenched his fists and stepped forward without hesitation. The boy raised his hand calmly, and countless shadows turned into black threads that spread outward, engulfing the entire room. Several of them lunged straight toward Xiao Mei. In a split second, Hao Lanren dove forward and pulled Xiao Mei into his arms, narrowly avoiding the attack. Having never been this close to a man before, Xiao Mei's face flushed crimson, and her affection for Hao Lanren silently climbed to 99.5. Standing in front of her, Hao Lanren stared coldly at the boy and shouted, "Scum! Let that girl go. If you've got guts, come at me." It turned out that the boy had once witnessed his sister being violated with his own eyes. Too weak to resist at the time, he carried an overwhelming hatred toward men. After the apocalypse broke out, he became a zombie and eventually evolved into an evil ghoul with terrifying abilities. In order to revive his sister, he captured countless women for experiments, never expecting that someone would dare come here to rescue them. His face twisted with malice as he unleashed his power at Hao Lanren. The freezing force seemed to tear straight through him, yet in the next instant, Hao Lanren vanished from where he stood. When the boy came back to his senses, he found Hao Lanren standing nearby, casually flipping through a book. Feeling utterly underestimated, the boy clenched his teeth, but realizing he had only used half his strength, excitement surged within him instead. In the next moment, countless shadowy tentacles burst out around Hao Lanren, binding him tightly in place. The crushing pressure felt as if it would tear his body apart, and a smug smile spread across the boy's face. Yet Hao Lanren suddenly broke free, lifting his head with an unmistakable look of mockery. The boy could hardly believe what he was seeing. When he noticed that Xiao Mei had already rescued Shuichen, he completely lost control and redirected his attack toward them. The sudden shadows left Xiao Mei frozen in panic, but at that critical moment, Hao Guai rushed forward and blocked the fatal strike head-on. Seeing his attack neutralized once again, the boy ground his teeth in fury. With the danger gone, Hao Lanren strode toward him angrily and said coldly, "So you planned to take hostages to threaten me, didn't you?" The next instant, he struck Wind Release. Raising Gan, the boy was blasted away, blood spraying from his mouth, and even the core within his body was nearly shattered. He crashed heavily to the ground, curling up as violent coughing racked his body. Hao Lanren walked over and calmly stated that he had not intended to kill him, only to inflict internal injuries, before proposing a deal. If the boy handed over Xiao Li and immediately put an end to his twisted experiments, Hao Lanren would help revive his sister, Miao Miao. Having conducted medical research for so many years, the boy did not believe a single word and regarded it as sheer nonsense. He dropped flat to the ground and forcibly unleashed his ultimate technique, shadow imitation art. However, every attack was stopped cold by Hao Lanren's steel chi barrier before it could reach him. At that moment, a sharp ringing sound suddenly echoed, interrupting the boy's attack. A purple eye slowly emerged from the side of his neck. The boy squeezed it out as if popping a pimple. The eye seemed alive, shooting into the air and reaching Hao Guai in the blink of an eye. That eye was a neuron worm, a creature capable of spatial traversal that rapidly parasitizes its target, allowing the controller to fully manipulate the host's actions. Hao Guai felt a splitting headache as the boy's ability invaded her body, forcing her to move toward him against her will. Seeing this, Hao Lanren rushed forward to stop it, but he was still a step too late. The boy seized Hao Guai and looked at Hao Lanren with a triumphant grin. Hao Guai struggled desperately. Yet as the boy activated his power, both of their bodies gradually began to blur, as if being transferred elsewhere. Watching the fading shadow, Hao Lanren lunged forward and grabbed at it, only to tear the door apart instead. Standing outside, he scanned his surroundings, desperately searching for Hao Guai. Just then, another ringing sound echoed, and Hao Lanren instinctively pulled Xiao Mei behind him. A horde of zombies went berserk and rushed toward the source of the ringing, each with a neuron worm embedded in the back of its neck. At that sight, Hao Lanren finally understood why he couldn't control the zombies here at the same time. A system message popped up. "Congratulations, host. The hostage has been successfully rescued. Would you like to activate the 10-pull draw?" Thinking it might yield something useful, Hao Lanren tapped confirm. But the moment the rewards appeared, Hao Lanren froze completely in disbelief. At that moment, a facial mask caught his attention. The young woman watched Hao Lanren flailing about in confusion, but when he turned around, he startled her badly. After Hao Lanren briefly explained the situation, everyone unexpectedly started playing monster cosplay. Once the disguises were ready, he told Xiao Mei and the others to take advantage of the weakened defenses to search for Shaoli, while he went to rescue Hao Guai. After giving his instructions, he suddenly reached toward his crotch again. Xiao Mei blushed in embarrassment, only for Hao Lanren to pull out a communicator and tell them to contact him if anything happened. Before them were 3 men who suffered inhuman torture every week, all because they had committed unforgivable acts against Brother Qin's wife. Today was once again the day of punishment. After being brutally beaten, the men even begged Brother Qin to kill them, unable to endure the torment any longer. But Brother Qin had no intention of sparing them, that he cast a healing spell to restore their bodies, then controlled a female zombie to begin a new round of torture. The men, faces twisted in agony, screamed hysterically, "Just end this miserable life already." Witnessing such a revolting scene, Hao Lanren couldn't help but vomit. At that moment, the boy teleported in with Hao Guai using his ability. After introducing her, Brother Qin merely beckoned with his hand, and Hao Guai walked toward him against her will. Hidden below, Hao Lanren suddenly noticed something was wrong. Brother Qin was not an abyssal ghoul, because an abyssal ghoul's normal body temperature ranged from 18 to 22 degrees, while Brother Qin's temperature was completely normal. Just as Hao Lanren was filled with doubt, the system popped up with a message, revealing the truth behind everything. After the outbreak of the apocalyptic virus, most people either died or turned into zombies. However, among every 100 million people, one individual would awaken supernatural abilities under the virus's stimulation. These individuals were known as super mutants. Brother Qin was one of them, and at this moment, he was manipulating a neuron parasite. While controlling Hao Guai, Brother Qin discovered that she was still able to resist the neuron parasite, causing the nearby abyssal ghouls to reveal looks of disbelief. At that moment, the boy hurried forward to explain, "It's probably because Hao Guai has been influenced by Hao Lanren, which is why she refuses to submit." Hearing this, Brother Qin showed a sinister smile that he believed that Hao Guai had spent too long among humans and had been tainted by human emotions. He decided to first restore her bloodthirsty abyssal ghoul nature before fully controlling her. After offering the boy a few words of praise, he ordered Xiao Ku to take Hao Guai to change her clothes, while he himself led the boy away to prepare dinner. At that moment, a zombie cat suddenly appeared beside Hao Lanren, holding a note in its mouth and looking at him with utter disdain. And so, this foolish cat quietly led Hao Lanren as they secretly followed Hao Guai's movements. At the same time, Hao Guai suddenly sensed Hao Lanren's presence. Xiao Ku also noticed something amiss, but upon realizing it was Nana's zombie cat, she finally relaxed her guard. Having resolved the crisis, the zombie cat looked smug, making Hao Lanren want nothing more than to punch it twice. After reading the diary, Hao Lanren learned that Xiao Ku was deeply dissatisfied with her life under control, and that she had long harbored an unrequited crush on a boy named Lele. At that moment, Xiao Ku was warning Hao Guai to stay away from Lele, but seeing that Hao Guai paid her no attention at all, she instantly flew into a rage. When the thought crossed her mind that devouring Hao Guai might allow her to break free from Brother Qin's control, a sinister smile appeared on her face. She leaped out of the hot spring and thrust her palm toward Hao Guai. Hao Guai was thrown into panic by the sudden attack. Just then, a streak of shadow shot out, dragging Hao Guai aside and barely avoiding Xiao Ke's strike. Even so, it was a fraction too slow. A deep gash was torn across Hao Guai's neck. Seeing this, Xiao Ke ground her teeth in fury and angrily berated Lei. Fearing that she would attack Hao Guai again, Lei immediately activated his ability to bind Xiao Ke and explained in a low voice, "Brother Qin has eased his control over us. He may be testing how we react to internal conflict." Xiao Ke's next action stunned both of them, as she suddenly clutched her head and began screaming wildly. Hearing this, Lei hurriedly withdrew his ability and quickly explained that he had only come to notify them that it was time for dinner, urging her not to misunderstand. At that moment, Hao Guai felt utterly drained. Seeing this, Lei immediately urged Xiao Ke to remove the ability affecting Hao Guai. It turned out that Xiao Ke's power was the ability to induce cancerous mutations in other people's cells. Watching Hao Guai finally escape danger, Hao Lanren let out a long breath of relief. At that moment, the system suddenly issued a warning. The smell of blood would awaken the feral instincts of an abyssal ghoul, accelerating the neuron parasite's control over Hao Guai. Immediately after, the system displayed Hao Guai's status interface, showing that her willpower was approaching its absolute limit. Seeing this, Hao Lanren instantly took out a vision technique discount voucher, preparing to upgrade his ocular abilities to rescue Hao Guai. One after another, he spent 50 million to unlock the so-called all-healing Tying Child, then 80 million to unlock the Golden House Child. Yet the system still tricked him again, unlocking an additional box of vision techniques labeled self-exploration. Fortunately, the system provided a trial arena, allowing Hao Lanren to test and experience the effects of these vision techniques in advance. Meanwhile, Brother Qin had not only reduced the girl to a near-demented state, but even placed her on the dining table like living sushi, all to force Hao Guai to drink fresh blood and bring her fully under control. When Hao Guai refused to submit, Brother Qin actually used the girl's life as a threat. At that critical moment, a beam of golden light descended from the sky, violently shaking Brother Qin's composure. Within the golden light, a figure appeared, scooped the girl into their arms, and shot straight into the sky. Sensing that overwhelming power, Brother Qin assumed it was a super mutant human and even considered capturing her for experimentation. Seeing Xiao Li still unconscious, Hao Lanren immediately activated his vision technique to examine her, only to discover that her brain nerves had suffered extremely severe damage. Without hesitation, he activated the Tying vision and began treating Xiao Li. When Xiao Li woke up and saw that Hao Lanren was the one who had rescued her, her favorability instantly rose too. At that moment, the system issued a notification. Xiao Li, girl group member unlocked, class, idol trainee, combat rank, sword master level 1, skill, aura blade level 1. After receiving the system's generous rewards, Hao Lanren immediately activated the ability Crimson Feather Whale, launching a full suppression against the enemies present. Forced back by the attack, the opponents struggled desperately, unable to comprehend how Hao Lanren's power had grown so terrifyingly in such a short time. The reason was simple. What Hao Lanren was using now was a fused ocular artifact, the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus could form armor around his body, grant him high-speed flight, and bestow partial godlike power for 7 minutes, though it carried a 24-hour cooldown. Fortunately, each new girl group member granted him one additional usage. At that moment, Brother Qin stepped forward as well. After praising Hao Lanren, he unexpectedly offered him a deal, become his subordinate, and he would spare his life. Hao Lanren merely sneered, publicly exposing Brother Qin's crimes and revealing Xiao Ke's deep dissatisfaction with him. The words struck a nerve. Brother Qin erupted in rage, shouting at Hao Lanren to shut up and stop sowing discord in their so-called teacher-student relationship. Immediately afterward, Brother Qin activated the neuron parasites, forcibly taking control of the abyssal ghouls on the battlefield. At this moment, the abyssal ghoul completely lost control, unleashing its strongest ability and surrounding Hao Lanren from all directions. Seeing this, Brother Qin wore a confident smile and said coldly, "You have nowhere left to run." Hao Lanren merely sneered as the three figures within the light barrier began to slowly fade away. Driven purely by self-interest, Brother Qin showed no concern for the children's lives, forcibly manipulating their bodies to continue fighting. Xiaoko had already lost consciousness, her abilities activated against her will as she attacked Hao Lanren, only for him to calmly take out a can of insecticide. With a light spray, the fumes spread instantly, knocking the abyssal ghoul girl unconscious on the spot. Realizing she had no control over her powers, Hao Lanren decided to see it through and prepare to use ability extraction to remove her abilities. However, when he saw the purple ability pill, Hao Lanren instinctively felt that swallowing it wouldn't grant power, but would instead cause a complete high-induced meltdown. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hao Guai was locked in fierce combat with Xiao Ku. Xiao Ku attacked with mocking confidence, only to find all her abilities absorbed by Hao Guai's gloves. Xiao Ku was stunned, while Hao Guai excitedly rushed forward and punched, releasing all the absorbed abilities in a single blow. Ravaged by the backlash, Xiao Ku collapsed to the ground, her body covered in wounds, completely unable to resist any further. It turned out that the gloves Hao Guai was wearing had been prepared for her by Hao Lanren long ago in the safe house. Even Xiao Li had been equipped by Hao Lanren with a handy watermelon cleaver. At that moment, Xiao Li coldly stared at Lei Lei and confidently slashed apart his shadow, but due to a brief lapse, she was caught again by the remaining darkness. Seeing this, Hao Lanren rushed forward, picked up the watermelon cleaver from the ground, and freed Xiao Li with a clean anime-style slash. Just as Xiao Li was rescued, a piercing ringing sound suddenly echoed around them, drawing a massive wave of zombies charging straight toward Hao Lanren. It was Brother Qin who had activated the alarm device. He stared at Hao Lanren with a sinister grin and said, "You'll only become zombie fodder. Give up your meaningless resistance." At that moment, Nana urgently warned, "As long as we shut off the alarm, it won't attract any more zombies, and he won't be able to control them to attack us." Before her words even finished, static crackled from the speakers. It was Xiao Mei, who had shut down the main alarm switch from the control room. Furious, Brother Qin clenched his teeth and forcibly sent the nearby zombies rushing in. Suddenly, a figure leapt over the heads of the zombies and dashed toward Nana in the blink of an eye. It was Nana's zombie cat, which immediately buried its head into Nana's chest and refused to move. Seeing this scene, Hao Lanren shamelessly shed tears of envy. The zombie cat even looked back at Hao Lanren with a smug expression, as if showing off. Enraged to the extreme, Hao Lanren unleashed the through-the-mountain strike against the zombie horde. The girl had always regarded Brother Qin as her own family, never realizing that he had only ever treated her as a disposable tool. Just as he was about to lay hands on her again, Hao Lanren grabbed his wrist and stopped him cold. "Touch her one more time," he warned, "and I'll cripple you on the spot." Seeing Hao Lanren stand up for her, Nana couldn't hold back her emotions and burst into tears of gratitude. One when Brother Qin realized Hao Lanren dared to take someone from him. He went completely berserk, activating his ability and forcibly gathering the energy of every neuronal parasite within the zombies. Hao Lanren stared at the surge of energy in shock as it suddenly poured into Hao Guai's body. Hao Guai's eyes went blank, and three eerie eyes slowly floated behind her. In the next instant, an uncontrollable howl burst from her throat. The sound carried a crushing mental impact, leaving everyone in agony. Seeing this, Qin Gu released all of the neuron parasites at once. The parasites flooded into the abyssal ghouls, forcing them to rise like walking corpses, their state now identical to Hao Guai's. The abyssal ghouls had completely lost control of their bodies, their faces twisted as they charged at Hao Lanren. Xiao Li stepped in front of Hao Lanren, but the abyssal ghouls dodged her attacks with ease. Chinga laughed smugly. Yet the next moment, the abyssal ghouls that evaded the blade failed to withstand Xiao Li's will and were stunned by electricity. Xiao Li rushed forward and severed the neuron parasites controlling them, only to see the parasites fuse together again in an instant. Nana shouted urgently, "You have to wipe out every single parasite at once, or they won't die." Hearing this, Hao Lanren activated his ocular technique, darting between the abyssal ghouls as his strange flames burned the parasites away. Qingge ground his teeth in fury, his expression darkening completely. Hao Lanren activated the Taiyin Child, treating the abyssal ghouls. Freed from control, the abyssal ghoul girls quickly came to their senses and hurried to thank Hao Lanren. Then, filled with rage, they turned toward Qingge, vented their fury, and charged at him together. A brutal barrage followed, and they only stopped after Qingge had completely stopped breathing. Just when everyone thought Qingge was truly finished, his voice echoed once again. At that moment, the system issued a mission: stop Qingge, with rewards of wealth value and a mysterious grand prize. In the next instant, Qingge lashed out, swinging his tentacles toward them. Lele immediately activated his ability to shield everyone. However, both he and Xiao Ku were bound tightly by the tentacles. Seeing this, Hao Lanren rushed forward and activated his ocular technique to rescue them, but he was still too late. The tentacles swallowed the two of them whole. Qingge felt the surging energy inside his body and became wildly exhilarated. In the next moment, Hao Lanren shattered the monster's body with a single punch, yet it seemed to have little effect. The creature's remains wriggled violently. In the blink of an eye, Qingge reappeared. Now fully controlling the monster, Qingge accelerated its writhing movements as countless tentacles wrapped around him, forming a massive sphere of flesh. Everyone stared in disbelief at the sight before them. Suddenly, cracking sounds echoed from the flesh sphere as a jade-like hand burst through the surface, followed by a woman emerging from within. Hao Lanren looked at her and said excitedly, "I'll definitely keep my promise to Nana." Hearing this, Nana immediately turned shy, her affection rising sharply. But when she thought about Lele and Xiao Ko being swallowed by the monster, worry crept back onto her face. Seeing this, Xiao Li and Xiao Mei quickly comforted her. Sure, Hao Lanren is useless at almost everything, but when it comes to fighting, he's absolutely number one. As they spoke, Hao Lanren charged forward and unleashed the flying fire meteor fist. The woman sneered, lifting a single finger. A shadow materialized in front of her and absorbed the attack completely. It turned out she had absorbed Lele and Xiao Ku, fusing their abilities into her own. Seeing his attack effortlessly blocked, Hao Lanren didn't panic at all and immediately activated his clone technique. Making ridiculous faces, he spun wildly around her, trying to disgust and distract her at the same time. At that moment, inspiration struck Nana. Realizing the woman hadn't fully mastered her fused abilities yet, she prepared to control the zombie cat to support the fight. Under Nana's ability, the zombie cat transformed into a ferocious werewolf. Swinging its claws, it lunged straight at the woman. In the very next second, the woman effortlessly blocked the attack, a mocking smile spreading across her face as sharp blades formed at the ends of the tentacles behind her. Seeing the miserable state of her pet, Nana's expression filled with concern. Seizing the opening, the woman unleashed her ability and launched an attack toward Nana. At the critical moment, Hao Lanren appeared beside Nana and threw a punch, severing the incoming tentacle in one strike. Elsewhere, Xiao Li handed a lightning-imbued weapon to Xiao Mei. Wielding the electric blade, Xiao Mei seemed divinely empowered, piercing straight through the woman's body and temporarily immobilizing her. Hao Lanren immediately rushed in and pummeled the woman, but to his surprise, she recovered with astonishing speed. As Hao Lanren drove another punch into her, the surrounding tentacles surged forward, wrapping around him and swallowing him in an instant. At the same time, the woman felt an overwhelming surge of energy flooding into her body, her face twisting into pure exhilaration. Witnessing this, the idol group members nearby stared in utter disbelief. Suddenly, the woman's body lost control and turned blood red. It turned out Hao Lanren had entered her unharmed and injected massive energy directly into her core, far beyond what she could digest. On the verge of going berserk, the woman screamed hysterically, demanding that Hao Lanren get out of her body at once. Hao Lanren ignored her cries, rapidly searching through her body for Lele and Xiao Ke. At that moment, a woman suddenly appeared within his field of vision. Above her head hung several organ-like containers, each holding Lele and Xiao Ke inside. Realizing they were unconscious due to severe neural damage, Hao Lanren immediately activated his eye technique to treat them. After successfully saving the two, Hao Lanren urged them to leave at once, because he was about to go all out. It was then that Hao Lanren discovered an even darker secret hidden within the woman's abdomen. In order to let his deceased wife give birth to another man's child, Qin had taken countless lives to maintain her reproductive functions. Yet not only did this plan fail, it turned him into something neither human nor monster, and he nearly killed the child himself. At that moment, Qin stared at the baby in Hao Lanren's arms, overwhelmed by regret. Just then, his wife suddenly appeared at his side. Qin could not believe what he was seeing. After his wife's heartfelt guidance, Qin regained his original resolve, and the two chose to sacrifice themselves so that others could survive. Everything they had done, in truth, had been manipulated by an organization known as the Chosen of God. Calling themselves agents of the divine, this group had been secretly monitoring the world, and Qin, classified as a super mutant, was selected to assist in researching mutant evolution, though their true goal remained unknown to him. Hearing this, Hao Lanren took out the happy water the fat man had drunk and questioned him about it. It turned out that happy water was a modified zombie virus developed by Qin. Humans could gain a short burst of power after absorbing it, but the side effects were severe. At that moment, an announcement sounded from the loudspeakers. The self-destruct sequence had been activated. Hao Lanren immediately ordered everyone to evacuate. Qin had already made up his mind and chose to stay behind with his wife, spending their final moments together. His only request was that Hao Lanren take good care of Lao Wang's child and his students. With that, Hao Lanren led the children in a rapid retreat toward the main exit. However, the escape route had been completely blocked by falling debris. In a desperate move, Hao Lanren spread his wings, told everyone to climb onto him, and forced his way toward the opening with all of them in tow. Just then, the system warned him that the Horus I had only 3 seconds remaining. Panicking, Xiao Ke lost her balance, causing Hao Lanren's escape train to crash. At the critical moment, the system issued a notification. The host had defeated the lair's strongest abyssal ghoul and obtained substantial rewards. From this, Hao Lanren confirmed that Qin and his wife had perished. Not wanting to waste the chance he had earned with his life on the line, Hao Lanren immediately activated the Comrade Grand Roulette. Perhaps good deeds truly paid off. He drew the mysterious grand prize, the Anywhere door. By opening it while thinking of someone he knew, he could summon them to his side, with the sole limitation of 3 uses per day. Just like that, Hao Lanren used the Anywhere door to successfully rescue everyone. Aside from being a different gender, the woman looked almost identical to Hao Lanren, as if sculpted by the same doctor. She flashed a playful smile, then raised a screen-locking item overhead, instantly forming a barrier around everyone. It turned out she was also a savior chosen by the system goddess. The item she used disabled all abyssal ghouls' abilities within a 500-meter radius. At the same time, the system issued Hao Lanren a quest: defeat the strongest zombie hunter, Elu, to obtain 100 million coins and a special reward. The atmosphere tightened sharply. In the next instant, both figures vanished at speeds invisible to the naked eye. Seeing a woman who could match Hao Lanren blow for blow, Xiao Li and Xiao Mei were visibly shocked. Hao Lanren could clearly sense her powers continuing to rise, and a hint of concern crossed his face. Her chosen upgrade was Stat Pickup Cheat, allowing her to freely distribute collected stat points among all attributes. In the blink of an eye, Hao Lanren was completely frozen by her ability, turned into an ice sculpture. Xiaomei immediately drew her electric blade and moved to help, but the woman sidestepped with ease. The true target of the electric blade, however, was Hao Lanren's position. The next moment, Hao Lanren shattered the ice and emerged with absolute confidence. He activated the Mangekyo Sharingan and locked his gaze firmly on her. Then he unleashed martial art, 7-color blade light. But the woman, with her agility stat maxed out, dodged the attack with ease. Elu's face twisted with anger as she activated her ability and prepared to strike Hao Lanren. Unexpectedly, Xiaoli stepped forward and shouted at her, "Hey, Annie, let me handle you this time." Elu, only 18 years old and being called Auntie, snapped in rage, veins bulging as she attacked Xiaoli directly. Xiaoli was clearly no match and was frozen stiff by Elu's power, shivering uncontrollably. At that moment, Hao Lanren launched a sneak attack on Elu, completely shameless, with no sense of honor. Fortunately, Elu caught the blade barehanded, blocking the strike head-on, excitement flashing across her face. But in the very next second, Hao Lanren's sword was already resting against Elu's neck. Hao Lanren didn't kill her. Instead, he chose to let her go. Elu leaned in close and whispered into his ear, "Watching you get played by the system like a puppet, it's kind of pitiful. Next time we meet, I'll tell you how to break free from that damn system." Hao Lanren had just finished saying goodbye to the little evil ghouls. At that moment, vehicles from a survivor base arrived beside him. At this moment, Hao Lanren had no idea whether the survivor base was friend or foe. To be safe, he entered the system space to upgrade his ocular abilities, spending 50 million to upgrade the closed-eye biolens, 80 million for the extreme frost demon eye, and 100 million for the stealth eye. After that, Hao Lanren teleported back with Xiao Li and Xiao Mei, ready to investigate. Meanwhile, a puddle of slime quietly slipped into the vehicle from beneath it. It successfully possessed a young woman and began searching for Hao Lanren's location. Her mission was to retrieve Yaya, the child of Qin Gu and Miao Miao, because Yaya, born from a super mutant and an evil ghoul, could help break the Chosen One's genetic bottleneck. What she didn't know was that every move she made was clearly seen by Hao Lanren, who had activated his stealth eye. Hao Lanren cracked his knuckles and warned her, "Release the hostage and expose the Chosen One's conspiracy, and I'll give you a chance to turn back." The woman merely sneered and swung the slime at Hao Lanren, launching an attack. Hao Lanren sliced the slime in half, sending it splattering onto the ground. In the blink of an eye, it split into two disgusting slug-like creatures. The two slugs charged like twin dragons, striking at Hao Lanren's lower body and making his expression change instantly. At the same time, the woman shattered the window with her ability, preparing to make her escape. Hao Lanren wiped out the slime with a single motion, blocked her path, and then slapped her hard on the butt twice. The woman was left screaming for help, with no one answering. Hao Lanren's face suddenly twisted as his raised right hand froze mid-air. Then he struck without mercy, slapping the girl and sending her flying. Seeing the pain on her face, a trace of regret flickered in Hao Lanren's heart. But the next second, she turned arrogant, using the hostage inside her body to threaten him to hand over Yaya. Hao Lanren didn't hesitate for a second and activated the extreme frost demon eye. As her body rapidly froze, the girl panicked. "Are you insane? There's a hostage inside me. He'll die if you do this." Hao Lanren seemed deaf to her cries. He extended a finger and lightly tapped her chest, and cracks instantly spread across the ice. It turned out he had already activated the lunar Yin Eye, protecting the hostage from frost damage. At that moment, the system issued a notification. Hostage successfully rescued. New Eye art acquired. Asterisk Astro Hunters, asterisk, capable of storing up to 10 vehicles. After separating from the hostage's body, the girl quickly recombined and reformed. seeing her still dare to show herself. Hao Lanren strode toward her with killing intent. Terrified, she sprang up and fled through the window. Hao Lanren didn't pursue her. He had already marked her with the hunter's eye, planning to trace her back to the god-chosen stronghold. Just then, Xiao Mei's voice sounded in his ear, calling him over for dinner. But after everyone raised their glasses and drank, dizziness washed over them all at once. The administrator looked at the women unconscious at the table and revealed a sinister smile. Watching everything unfold, Hao Lanren's expression turned cold as he demanded to know why the man had drugged them. The truth was he planned to capture the women and sell them to human traffickers. As for someone like Hao Lanren, he would be sold to female bosses as a male plaything. After hearing this, Hao Lanren instantly regained clarity, while the administrator stared in confusion. Why hadn't the drug worked on him? The next second, the beaten man clutched his head. He shouted for security, only to be subdued effortlessly by Hao Lanren and tied up tightly. Hao Lanren was about to extract information using the hypnosis when the man tried to speak. Foam spilled from his mouth, and green mushrooms rapidly sprouted across his body. It turned out there was a massive tree inside the base infected with the zombie virus. The man assigned to feed it trembled in fear. It was a tree that devoured humans without leaving a trace. Seeing someone disobey orders, the woman pressed a switch, electrocuting the offender unconscious, then ordered two others to drag him away as nourishment for the tree. By then, Hao Lanren had already infiltrated the base using a vehicle, witnessing the entire scene and recalling the man whose body had been covered in toxic mushrooms. He immediately activated the golden eye and discovered that the tree itself was infected with the zombie virus. Seeing the woman's actions, everyone showed clear anger. Just as they were about to rush in, Hao Lanren pressed a hand on Xiao Mei's shoulder and stopped her. "We're here to find Annie and figure out what this place really is. Don't act rashly. Leave it to me." As he spoke, he activated his eye ability and attempted to take control of the massive tree. The woman wielding a whip was still barking orders when, in the next instant, vines from the tree bound her tightly. The system notification popped up. "Congratulations, host. Righteous act reward obtained. Heartthrob. For 1 hour, ordinary women will automatically be drawn to you." After this brief interruption, the group finally entered the interior of the base, where a young woman came to receive them. With the heartthrob effect active, Hao Lanren managed to extract several pieces of critical information. Disguised in the base staff's uniforms, they passed through multiple checkpoints with ease. However, the moment the elevator doors opened, several man-eating plants blocked their path. Two girls raised their guns and ordered them to hand over the virus sample. Hao Lanren immediately signaled Xiao Li to disrupt the surveillance system with her ability. In the control room, the man stared at the vanished feed in confusion. Just then, a message of success came through from the woman, and the man showed a playful smile. As the door opened, Hao Lanren walked in, controlling two women behind him. The man kept talking to stall for time while running a scan to check the women's condition. Suddenly, he unleashed the typing speed of someone single for 30 years, hammering at the keyboard. Just after the two girls were put under hypnosis, the keyboard warrior hit the enter key. The girls instantly snapped awake and fled at lightning speed. Hao Lanren stared at their disappearance, completely stunned. At that moment, a massive door slowly opened, and countless vines burst out from inside. Hao Lanren tried to activate his eye technique to control the zombie vines, but it failed. The skill had already been used outside, with 5 minutes of cooldown left. With no choice, he decided to capture the leader first and charge straight at the keyboard warrior. Just as he was about to reach him, a forgiveness green zombie grabbed his leg, opening its gaping mouth to swallow him whole. In the next instant, Hao Lanren unleashed his whirling flame kick, but got firmly clamped in place. He then forced out another kick, turning all the zombies into flames that smashed straight into the vines. In the blink of an eye, the entire mass of vines was engulfed in fire. But when he turned back to look for the keyboard warrior, the man was already gone, leaving behind only a computer with all its data completely wiped. The system said excitedly, "It can be restored for just 100 million. Hao Lanren rejected it without hesitation, because back in the original world, a few hundred would be enough. At that moment, an urgent announcement blared through the speakers. Abyssal Ghoul detected inside the base. All personnel, enter level 1 alert immediately. Nana asked innocently, "Are they talking about me?" Hao Lanren remained calm. He summoned the Anywhere door and told everyone to follow him as they moved to find Annie. Annie was in extreme danger now, about to face a girl who was losing control of her own consciousness. It turned out the keyboard warrior had secretly swapped the medicine meant to treat the girl, causing her to mutate into an abyssal ghoul. The girl struggled desperately to restrain herself, but the tentacles behind her still lunged uncontrollably toward Annie. At the critical moment, Hao Lanren smashed through the wall and charged in, grabbed the tentacles, and with a powerful swing sent the girl spinning wildly in place like a top. Seeing that she could no longer resist, Hao Lanren activated the lunar Eni and began treating her. Just as he was about to carry the girl away to rest, the surrounding walls suddenly opened up. Just as Hao Lanren lifted the woman he would one day marry, her father suddenly charged out, swinging fists as big as sandbags. Unaware of the man's identity, Hao Lanren confronted him head-on, only to realize mid-fight that the vines growing from the man's arms were immune to flames. He immediately retreated to create distance. Seeing this, everyone quickly surrounded the man, ready to attack together. The father stood his ground and shouted fiercely, "Step back, ladies. I'm Boda's stand, son. I never hit women." When no one responded, he instantly activated his ability and bound all the women in place. He then moved to check on his daughter's condition. At that moment, the keyboard warrior walked in with two thugs and falsely accused Annie of causing the girl's condition. Annie hurried to explain, but Boda refused to listen. He directly unleashed his power and attacked Annie. At the critical moment, Hao Lanren stepped in and shielded Annie with his body. The girl then woke up and explained the entire sequence of events to Boda. Just as the truth was coming to light, the keyboard warrior suddenly appeared behind Boda and pierced his waist from the back. The girl rushed forward to save her father, but Annie grabbed her right hand and stopped her. Witnessing this, everyone was stunned. Those who had just been allies were now turning on each other. At that moment, the girl reverted to her abyssal ghoul form. Her face twisted as she stared at the keyboard warrior. But when she saw her father suffering under the keyboard warrior's torment, she dropped to her knees and begged him to spare her father, saying she would agree to any demand. Sensing danger, Hao Lanren immediately told Xiao Li to use her ability to transmit paralysis through the vines and restrain the keyboard warrior. Once the keyboard warrior was successfully controlled, Hao Lanren rushed in and beat him down. Yet the battered man sneered, "What is this? Are you giving me a massage?" Hearing that, Boda didn't wait for Hao Lanren to act. He activated his ability, bound the keyboard warrior tightly, and leaped into the deep pit, intending to die together with him. The girls tried to stop him, but it was already too late. Seeing his future wife break down in tears, Hao Lanren stepped forward and comforted her. "Don't worry, I'll take everyone down there right away." Even after having his kidney cut by a teammate, the man didn't die. He dragged the keyboard warrior down into the abyss. But after the fall, the keyboard warrior only suffered minor injuries, while the man collapsed helplessly due to his severe wounds. The keyboard warrior mocked him from above, pointing at the man-eating plants behind him. "They haven't been fed today. I'm sure they'd love a taste of a super mutant." As the plants charged under the keyboard warrior's control, the man clasped his fists and slammed them into the ground, roaring, "Today, I'm killing you." Countless vines erupted around him, instantly wrapping his body and blocking the plant's attack. However, the corrosive fluids secreted by the man-eating plants slowly ate away at the vines. Calm as ever, the keyboard warrior struck the vines with a single palm, blasting a massive hole through them in an instant. The man panicked. Just as he thought there was no way out, something suddenly wrapped around his body, and yanked him out of danger in the next second. It was Hao Lanren, swooping down from above while riding the zombie cat. The keyboard warrior stood tall, brimming with confidence. Come at me together. Let me show you what a god-chosen is really capable of. Hearing that, Hao Lanren didn't hesitate and immediately charged forward, activating the Eye of Horus. The keyboard warrior struggled desperately to block Hao Lanren's assault, but his lower body was already buried deep in the ground. Hao Lanren unleashed the Wind God kick, thinking it would finish the fight, yet the keyboard warrior burst out laughing. A pillar of golden light shot into the sky as the keyboard warrior transformed into a demon, standing before Hao Lanren with a mocking grin. Your fellow townsman, Hao Jiro, must have shown you something like this already, right? Hers was just a prototype. Mine is the most successful final product. Oh, and by the way, your world over there should be pretty lively right now. Hao Lanren's rage hit its peak. The two clashed head-on, trading blows as their powers matched each other blow for blow. Just when the keyboard warrior grew overconfident, Hao Lanren smashed him with a single punch, amplified by Hao Guai's ability gloves, knocking him out instantly. The massive tree nearby reacted at once, absorbing the keyboard warrior's power. In the blink of an eye, clouds of devouring spores spread around it. This tree, infected with the zombie virus, not only feeds on human blood, but also releases vast amounts of devouring spores. Any animal that inhales them will turn into a zombie. After realizing the situation, Hao Lanren assumed the devouring spores would fear fire and immediately unleashed his flame ability, trying to burn them away. However, the spores showed no reaction to the flames at all. Left with no choice, Hao Lanren switched to ice-type abilities and barely managed to blast all the spores away. At that moment, the massive tree suddenly shot upward, growing beyond the building in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Hao Lanren rushed outside, only to find the tree spreading devouring spores at a frantic rate. Without hesitation, Hao Lanren launched his attack. Ice God Palm. The tree was completely destroyed under Hao Lanren's strike, and a red corpse core dropped from its remains. Hao Guai immediately stepped forward and picked up the corpse core. Hao Lanren descended smoothly from the air. The group looked at him with admiration and quickly gathered around. Just as everyone was enjoying the victory, Annie approached Hao Lanren and warned him that the tree could regenerate, and that only a withering agent could permanently destroy the zombie tree. Hearing this, Gwida quickly asked for the formula of the withering agent, ready to dispatch a rescue team to search for the materials. Annie shook her head and said, with the hospital in its current condition, it's unlikely we can gather everything. Hao Lanren stepped forward and said, leave this to me. He only asked Annie to write down the formula. After a long wait, Annie finally handed the formula to Hao Lanren. A single remark from Hao Lanren made Annie blush instantly. Unfortunately, Gwida stepped in without reading the mood and interrupted the moment. Young man, Gwida, don't like owing favors. Where's your home? I'll have someone escort you back. Hao Lanren refused on the spot, but Gwida took it as a sign of disrespect. Hao Lanren didn't argue. He simply instructed Gwida to take good care of the girl group after he left and to let zombie hunter Elu handle the rest. Hearing this, Gwida finally smiled and made a formal pledge on the spot. Hao Lanren then activated the Lunar Een Eye to heal everyone. Once everything was settled, he teleported into the system space. At last, Hao Lanren pressed the button and opened the gate back to his original world.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you liked this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.